is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
Live tonight from Homestead, Miami Speedway, we say good evening sim racing fans and welcome to Championship Fortnight as LSR TV's coverage of the eSpeed Contender Series rolls on into the final race of the Bomb Track Fabrication Playoffs. And we are happy that you're with us tonight on your home for sim racing and the iRacing Esports Network for tonight's LOWLINE Racing 300 as we prepare to crown a champion. It is good to see all of you once more on a Wednesday night. Myself, Evan Pasoko, Rachel Whiteford, Gary Weaver upstairs, as always, with our producer, Hugo Louise, bringing us to you. We'll talk playoffs all night long. It's the main focus tonight, but a practice session is already drawn to a close. So let's go trackside to introduce you to tonight's LSR TV starting grid for round number 35. In a pole position in this one goes to one of your playoff drivers, Malik Ray, Brandon Holder, Matt Kingsbury, James Torrey fighting for a title this evening, and it is Malik Ray bringing us to the green flag this evening. Tim Marlowe going to be on the outside of the front row starting in second. Kerry Allen Stewart will roll from third position. Doug Lemons will start in the number 4 spot, and Keith Stewart rounds out your top 5.
P6 tonight is Brad Patterson with Brent Keith in 7th place. 8th place tonight, Paul Bliss with John Verga in 9th and Brad Neer in 10th.
Starting 11th, that's going to be the 6th of Perry Snelson. Gregory Thompson starts 12th. 13th, James Torrey. 14th, Sean Ryan. 15th, Brandon Holder.
Continuing on through, you've also got Timmy Longwood Jr. in 16th and James Hickson in 17th with Bobby Everhart outside at 18th spot. Back on row 10, it is going to be Matt Kingsbury in 19th spot. Ryan Lang in 20th with Doug Stout and Damian Blymesser 21st and 22nd. It is a look down at the bottom of your LSR TV starting grid. So Malik Ray first on the grid, Brandon Holder starting 15th, Matt Kingsbury 19th, and James Torrey in 13th. Those are your championship 4 drivers. There's 22 trucks here tonight, but whoever finishes the highest out of that 4-car group will be your 2018 champion. Let's get set to crown a title. We're happy you're with us as always at LSR TV and the iRacing Esports Network. Green flag in the air for Malik Ray. We're off and away. Longest race of 2018 also. Lap 1 of 200 underway.
Gonna get going early here at Homestead Miami Speedway. Malik Ray's been tough to beat this season. He's already had to a great start there. Marlowe and Stewart side by side, although we'll see the truck there of the number 70. Doug Lemons has slotted past them both. He's had a great run further forwards at the moment. 28 car wobbles and low on the side.
Heavily loose off that corner was a 28, but a great save from him. He's going to be falling back, though, unfortunately, from about 3rd to what is now 7th on the racetrack, and it could be 8th if that 9 could get past him.
If the Nine Machine can make a move here, it'd be good news early for Brad Neer. Of course, the bulk of these trucks that you're watching right now not fighting for the championship. It is exclusive to those playoff drivers, as we mentioned. And if you haven't been following with us on a week-by-week basis, you don't know those names off at the top of your head. Again, it is Ray, Holder, Kingsbury, Torrey. They also do have those powder blue numbers, spoilers, and splitters, so you know the difference. One thing that I think is going to be very key here, and we see it in every single series race, by the time we get down to the end of the year, you're not talking about 40 truck grids. 22 tonight, very healthy number for a season finale, but we are talking about a 300-mile contest. I think that this race certainly going to play into the hands of somebody who has long-run speed. Now, it doesn't say that you can't have a late race yellow, a short run to the end. That could always happen, and if you're the best car all night, figures it's probably going to happen that way. But long-run speed going to be critical this evening. And of course, if you're Malik Ray out front, you're having a much better kickoff than Matt Kingsbury, fellow championship competitor who started way back in 19th spot. Basically, polar opposites of the racetrack of one another as your top 2 spread it out a little bit.
Yeah, the FCR1 truck I'm keeping an eye on right now is Brad Neer, in the 9 truck. He's currently running back in the 7th spot. Started 10th so far, made 3 spots, and he looks like he's trying to find a hole at the moment. 28 car, I should say trucker Jamalo's dropped all the way back here, and that's a big problem for him. He's hemorrhaging spots, but Nia looking for gaps, trying to find a way past. He is quicker than all these trucks around him, and he's just trying to pick his moments. Doesn't want to cause a problem with the pass at the wrong time, but he's desperate looking for something there as Marlowe still going backwards. Major problems with that truck. I don't know what has happened to him. He's had no actual contact. Maybe he cooked the tires slightly when he actually slid that truck out of turn 4 that time by, but he's been going backwards in a hurry as he's 3 wide off of turn 4.
And middle 3 wide almost comes down into the 6. Now he actually does for a few moments there on the front straightaway. So trying to get away from Barry Snelson and just in front of the 5 of Brandon Holder. So I'm looking through right now. It's Malik Ray first, Brandon Holder in 12th. 14th, James Torrey, and the 21, who I have actually skipped over. Well, he's 15th, actually, just behind the number 2. So Kingsbury could be coming back eventually or moving up a little bit later in this race. As far as Tim Marlowe goes, I don't think it could be something with a setup that's so early on that it's more of a long run vehicle instead of a short run.
You better hope so. The car that started in 2nd position, Marlowe, is way back in 10th right now, so it's certainly not a start that you want if you are that camp. Looks like he's been able to kind of balance things out a little bit, hold it off Holder for the moment. The 5 truck is what are your championship for. Expect the 5 to not shy away from some of these battles. And just in front of them, John Berger, the 48, down to the inside of the 7, Keith Stewart. That's a side-by-side fight. In front of them, even Paul Bliss to the inside of the 56 of Kerry Allen Stewart. As Bliss tries to work his way through the field, Bliss was eliminated for the Bomb Track Fabrication playoffs last week at Phoenix. He was the 6th place driver to standings. Marshall Berry was the closest to the cut line, not advancing. Berry eliminated by 5 points. Bliss missed it by 19, and then it was a whopping 31-point deficit for Brad Neer and Sean Powell, who was the best driver in both the round of 16 and the round of 12. Didn't make any starts in the round of 8, and he finished 91 points below the cut line, basically forfeited in thing. So Paul Bliss, somebody recently eliminated, looking for some redemption. That fight with him and Brad Patterson for 4th on track, and it is the closest battle to your race leaders.
It certainly is, and we're looking right now, of course, at that, like you said, that 3rd and 4th place battle of just filtered back passage to the now, and it looks to be the 32 has that advantage over the 42, but here comes the 9 of Neer. We mentioned him a minute ago. He is definitely pulling forwards right now. I'm not sure if Gary, he's just using up his tires early. These other guys are saving, expecting long run here, but Brad Neer's truck looks like it's on rails. He's just performing so much better than the others. He's been moving up and down the track looking for passes, and he's been successful going up and down the track looking for opportunities. And right now, passing the 42 truck there of Patterson, he's taking his time with it. He's not rushing things, but is this a guy who's running what he's got too soon, trying to hope for a caution to have advanced his spot early, get some tires? Or is this just a truck that's naturally quicker?
All right, so from the moment, I'm pretty sure it could be a truck that's just a bit quicker, as the 42 was pretty much bump drafting that number 9 of Brad Neer into turn number 1. So doing a great job, though, trying to find that momentum, and Patterson had that, too, just for a moment off of turn number 2. But if he was slid up, he would have been just on the left side quarter panel of that number 9. So it could be a combination of a better truck early on, but it also could be that he is using his tires early. That's just going to be something that we're going to have to watch out for later in this run. So for the time being, though, 12 now, working lap 13, I believe. Well, 12 laps in, I should say. He's doing a great job just keeping that momentum up, and he's already in the top 5 after starting what's to be in the 10th position. So 5 positions up from 11 laps in, almost 13 laps in, I should say. So it could be just a matter of strategy, maybe just trying to play mind games.
We'll see. Certainly the key is the same here tonight as it is the other week. Don't, mistake the fact that, it's a 300-mile race, and that is a long time, 200 laps. We're working lap 13 now for race leader Malik Ray, who's 1.6 seconds ahead of Doug Lemons into P2, and Lemons is 3 seconds ahead of the next closest truck. That's Paul Bliss in 3rd, maybe under attack shortly by Brent Keith. But most of these races, used to go racing 200 miles, 250 miles, whatever that may be. So you're basically adding just one extra run into this race. A 300-mile race can't have any longer of a green flag run than a 250-mile race. You don't it's not like you get any extra fuel, but it is certainly going to be, I think, a mental aspect of things for these drivers to be able to hone it in, stay focused for what could be, 2 hours of race time as opposed to an hour and a half like it normally is. Now, Homestead's a fun racetrack, variable banking. If you want, you can run it up top. We don't see that very high line come to play as much on the sim as maybe you did over the weekend with the final weekend of the NASCAR calendar, but certainly progressively banked. A lot of rubber's going to get put down on this racetrack. Drivers need to be on top of it all night, figuring out where the best place to run is, while also being fast and keeping care of those tires at the same time. This one could have 2-3 green flag stops stringed in a row, and when it comes down to that much time, those hundredths matter, and pretty much right on cue, there's the caution flag. Smoking at turn number 1, Timmy Logwood Jr. in the 4, and a playoff driver in James Torrey. The 2 truck is involved, and that was a big hit to the inside. Torrey might be done.
There's the 4 truck of Timmy Logwood Jr. You'll see on the replay there. He just comes up the track and turns the 2 truck of Torrey. Big hits for him. I think his engine would likely be done, especially after he took that hit there as well from the truck behind him. That was a crazy big hit. Just spatial awareness there from before didn't exist. He just came straight up, turned him. Perfect pit maneuver.
It's quite unfortunate for James Torrey, and again, he could be done. That was Bobby Everhart in the 71 that got into James Torrey, so not sure if the 4 was trying to side draft or something, but there was not really reason to be so close to that number 2, especially since he's running for a championship. But at this race, essentially just going to be 3 drivers now racing for the title.
There are no, free passes, quick repairs available on the pit lane, and I think Torrey might have been a little bit lower off of the wall than what Everhart was expecting. But at the end of the day, there, or Logwood should say in the 4. But at the end of the day, you got to know who's in it and who's not, and you can't do that to a playoff driver. We had a chance to talk with James last week as your cars come down to the pit lane. He was on track to try to do something that I don't think we've ever seen in this playoff era of sim racing on LSR TV. James Torrey was the last qualifier in through the round of 16. He was the last qualifier out of the round of 12, and he finished 4th, so the last qualifier out of the round of 8. He's just squeaked it out every single time. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like he's going to be able to fight for the title anymore here tonight. We'll see how long the damage is going to be repaired, but this is a fast racetrack. It is going to be a tall order for the 2. Meanwhile, 4 tires, fuel down on pit road. Malik Ray, nice and easy. For the number 20, he is in and out first, no issues. Paul Bliss leapfrogs Doug Levens to take over 2nd position. It'll be Brad Neer 4th. Brad Patterson in 5th, and Brent Keith in the 32 truck seems to drop a couple of spots.
Yeah, it really does. It's shaking things up quite a bit here. We talked about those green runs, and I was about to say, actually, after you finished, before that yellow came out, if we get a green flag run, a green flag stop, I should say, that's going to basically signify us another green flag stop. However, Homestead is different because the pit road entrance at Homestead is all the way from turn 3. So you're coming in before turn 3 on the back stretch, and you've got to really back it down there because it's flat. Very flat on that pit road entrance, which curves all the way around the inside of 3 and 4. And that can lead to drivers just losing the back end there. It steps out very easily on these trucks on the flat ground. They're set up for banking corners. They're not set up to drive on the flat ground. These are not road course trucks. They're designed to turn left. And they will do it very easily on flat ground. So it's very easy for trucks to slide across that and back up into the track and cause a problem, especially when they enter the track backwards, which they likely would. So the green flag would either have signified, if it was successful, the field being so spread out, we'd get another green flag run, or the likelihood that it would cause as a caution, but that's been reset now as we go back 2 wide for the restart.
Yeah, they're going to double it up, so side by side for the restart. Gary, just wanted to quickly note an update on our playoff drivers. Again, to Paul Bliss, the 85, not one of the playoff cars, despite the fact that he has that blue, so it is Malik Ray still leading this race. Brad Neer, also somebody else who was recently eliminated. He's right up here in the mix as well, but the driver I wanted to point out, Brandon Holder, he gained 9 spots, his P6, so that's certainly somebody to keep an eye on.
And entering pit road, he was 6th place. Exiting pit road, still the same position, so not much of a change for him, but on track, like you mentioned, 9 positions up, so for the time being, he is very much on a roll, and he's the closest driver to the 20, Malik Ray.
James Story, who was involved in the accident 2 laps down and on a pit road. Effectively, his championship hopes come to an end after that contact in a battle for position. Pace car off it in, though. It is going to be Malik Ray. He chose the outside line. Green flag in the air as we complete 18. And Malik Ray heads back up to the gears to turn 1. Good run by Brad here on the outside of the racetrack. He'll try to challenge the 85 of Bliss down low. Not going to happen. He'll hang on to second. And here comes Doug Lemons up the bottom of the racetrack. Race winner from last week at ISM in the 70 truck, due to go for 2 in a row.
Yeah, he said he is, but look at this Brad Neer right up there in the 3rd place. He is definitely looking strong, although he loses ground going up high there in 3 and 4. Really cost him some momentum coming off the corner there. The 70 truck slots back in front of Lemons. And of course, just in front of them, that is the 85 machine. Of course, Paul Bliss there, 5 on the bottom side. Brandon Holder getting past the 70 now of Lemons. Got to remember as well, coming off turn 2, there's a bit of a kicker on the outside lane there, so coming off a little bit lower is actually beneficial. You want to kind of cruise up to the outside wall after the exit of turn 2 rather than into contact as we have another spin, but not quite a spin there. That was, I believe, if we can get the replay up for that one, that I think was just behind the leaders. That was the 32 and the 42. Those guys have been tangling all night, sideways, and wow, they hold on to that one somehow. I'm not even sure, but pit road entrance for some guys for a shortest change.
Yeah, 32 Brent Keithy slid from the apron all the way down into pit road, so somehow he managed to save that. I was looking over at Brendan Holder fighting the 70 at the time, just in case the caution came out. Well, Brendan Holder made essentially 3 positions up within that entire lap. So again, he's still the closest driver, and Paul Bliss a little bit loose off of turn number 4 there, so that could mean that Brendan Holder could get into 2nd place, but he might want to wait just a little bit just to make sure he has everything saved in the event that something could happen to that number 20. But Bliss makes a very wide exit, so looks like Paul Bliss is going to have, Brendan Holder's not going to have the option, so he'll opt to take it to the inside and advance his position from 3rd to 2nd.
Yeah, Paul Bliss is flying through the field right now, and again, because these guys qualify on Mondays, it's difficult for us to kind of see what kind of speed they have short run, long run. We can only go off of practice times. He was just barely a top 10 car in the practice. Of course, qualified way back in a 15th position, but for Brandon Holder, best in practice this evening, and he is showing that speed. He is now up to 2nd position. That is 13 positions gained in 23 laps thus far, and because of Holder now in the 5, he's got a little bit of pocket of air. Malik Ray last run pulled way out in front of everybody else. Let's see if he's going to be able to keep Ray honest. That last time by, he was faster than the 20 up front, so this may not just be a walk in the park for Ray. That 5 car is his best challenger now, and of course it figures not only a challenger for the race win, but a challenger for the championship.
Yeah, he certainly could be, and that's going to make things very exciting towards the end of this, but I mean, Malik Ray is just dropping off into the distance there. Not really any competitors, but he's been closer this run than the last one. He got away faster last time round. Of course, some of the faster drivers who qualified more poorly are getting further forwards. My biggest look here is the 5 with Brandon Holder, 15th to 2nd, and we're on lap 25. That is some big momentum, big movement from him, and he does seem to be drawing the cars behind him, the trucks behind him, the 85 and the 70 there, towards Malik Ray. This could definitely be changing our race.
Yeah, it definitely is. Last time around, almost a full 10 faster was Brendan Holder from Malik Ray, and according to JRT, it shows that he is estimated to be one of the fastest drivers on the track to essentially get the win. And I say estimated because, of course, that can change anytime soon. Last time around, he was 2/10 slower, so a little pocket of air behind him, while it could help just a little bit. Those 2 drivers behind him, the 85 of Paul Bliss and the 70 of Doug Lemons, they might not want to really try and battle each other or battle the 5. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how long it takes for all 3 of these drivers essentially to catch up to the 20 Malik Ray, because they'll have to work together.
They certainly will, but hang on a second, Gary. What's your real timing?
Oh, what's the real timing? Well, that is a timing software that I have up on my second monitor here, so it's pretty interesting. I absolutely love it.
Can people get that?
Oh, yeah, of course. I'm pretty sure last time I checked, this version that I have right now is actually free.
It certainly is, and you can go to joel-real-timing.com and you can pick it up for free and coffee today, whether you spend your time on iRacing on the pit box, the spotter stand, or in the driver's seat. It helps you find exactly the tight places you're losing time, and where you're gaining time, and how you can improve your career as a sim racer. So check it out at joel-real-timing.com.
So proud of you guys. Official timing software of LSR TV, helping us out to keep track of all the numbers. Long race, going to be watching those as the night goes on. And of course, I wouldn't be surprised at all if some of the 22 people in the service here tonight, and that's only the drivers, of course, crew chief, spotters, all that good stuff. Wouldn't be surprised if a good number of them are utilizing that. If you're on the service and you are not yet, make sure to go over and check the guys over at Joe Real Time. And big thanks to them for being a longtime partner of all of us here at LSR TV. And it gives us a look that Malik Ray is now really starting to get the advantage back in his favor. Brandon Holder made a charge from 6th on the restart up to 2nd, and then at that point for the first couple of laps he was gaining time, but since then Malik Ray maybe waking up a little bit, saw the 5 coming, and for Ray he doesn't necessarily need the JRT stats, he just saw the 5 getting bigger in the rearview mirror, and since then he's been about a 1/10 to 2/10 faster every single lap. So Holder's P2 may not be as safe as once we thought it might be, because Paul Bliss, the 85, right there on top of him, and the separation up front certainly a lot closer this time around than it was on that opening green flag run.
Yeah, absolutely, and that opening green flag run has been a real eye-opener in terms of what trucks were fast or what trucks were slow here. In second run, those faster trucks have worked their way forward to traffic, and with the caution, of course, they got that time difference. But something that really bothered me, though, is the fact that we saw those trucks go backwards, 32 and the 42. Patterson's back in 13th now, so he's 6th. And the 32 truck, well, he got a speeding penalty. Brent Keith is down 2 laps now because of that.
Yeah, it's going to be quite unfortunate. And Brent Keith is, well, suffering at the moment. 12 laps, 12 positions down from where he started, 19th, but for the time being, I was looking back through the field actually, and I saw Tim Marlowe try to make it 3 wide on those 2 drivers in front of him, the 04 of Ryan and the 48 of Virgo. It didn't work out, so unfortunately Tim Marlowe is still suffering the side effects from whatever happened to him pretty much at the beginning of this race. So again, it could be a setup, could be a track temperature that could also be playing into this, so I don't really know. I mean, track temperature is 92 degrees, air temperature 83, so both of those, it's a little bit of a hot day in Florida, but it's Florida, so it's kind of normal. But right now, that's just quite interesting. The times between the first 2 drivers, Malik Ray and Brandon Holder, they've leveled out for the most part. But like Evan mentioned, it's just that Malik Ray is pulled away at this point. So Malik Ray has come across the better of the 2 for the time being.
And again, of course, better relative term. I think Malik Ray's got the better short or long run truck, and I think it is Holder with the better short run truck. Now, of course, this race, a long way. I said right at the top that I think it is going to be better to have a long run truck than it is a short run truck. You get a yellow with 20 laps to go, 10 laps to go. It's always possible. It doesn't really matter what you did for the 180 or 190 laps previous, but right now I like Malik Ray. I like where he's sitting. The gap is 1.2 seconds ahead of Brandon Holder, who has kind of settled down to Paul Bliss a little bit. The 85 not buzzing around as much as he had been. Doug Lemon's 4th, Brad Neer round out your top 5 as they run. Of course, intervals up at the top of your screen. 18 trucks on the lead lap. Brent Keith is 2 laps down in 19th, but Bobby Everhart, Timmy Longwood Jr., and playoff driver James Torrey now all 17 laps down after being involved in the early incident that so far is our one and only caution. I think it is time we can officially say James Torrey will not be advancing and he will not win a 2018 championship. Really unfortunate break for him to be involved in an accident that was not his fault with non-playoff cars. It is both the beauty, if you think of it one way, and kind of the bad side, the downside, if you will, if you want to be a pessimist, and if you're involved in it for James Torrey, he's not having fun at all. Of a playoff like this, we don't kick everybody else off the racetrack. It wouldn't be any fun watching 4 cars out here on the racetrack battling for the title, and unfortunately that's how it goes sometimes. But again, the resiliency that 2-truck team had showed all season long, they should have their heads held high going into 2019.
Yeah, absolutely. And the 2019 season looks to be set to be way better than we've had in the past. And I'm looking forward to seeing just that, because this season could be phenomenal. This one we just had in 2018 has been incredible. I'm looking forward to see what these guys can do in the future, because the competition level has just been so high. ever. And it's getting higher and higher and higher. And I'm looking forward to seeing exactly how these guys can push this thing even harder. The racing has been phenomenal this season. I mean, this race is nowhere near done yet, and we just had a slowdown there from Doug Lemons, who just dropped down, let Mir go in front of him, and was just picked up behind. So Lemons playing the long game, it seems.
Yeah, Doug Lemons is going to be very strategic. I mean, I didn't, unfortunately, I wasn't there last week's race, so even though it's my home track, congrats to Doug Lemons on that win from last week. So it could be, I don't know what strategy was then, but he's probably playing that same strategy now. What he's doing is essentially laying back, letting everyone else wear out their tires and making sure that he has his own tires set up and saved for a little bit later on, just in the event, again, those saved tires, however much you have left, it could help out on that access road where it's insanely flat. And, well, we've seen what can happen when you really push a car into pit road and still somehow manage to save it for the pit road entry.
And I remember, of course, Homestead is the track that everybody uses as the season finale. We've seen a bit of races here in the past, and Homestead season pretty much around us. We hope you join us next Monday night as the Full Throttle Wheelset Racing Cup Series heads right back here to South Florida for the Championship 4 race with the final race of the season, powered by our friends over at English Auto LLC. But the beauty of Homestead is you can kind of watch how this racetrack has affected championships, and we saw not all that long ago here on the iRacing Esports Network with the NASCAR Piquet Freeze iRacing Series. Ray Alfala go on for a race win and a championship with an incredible pit road entry on a green flag stop right before the end of the race, which could very well have made the difference in him winning or losing that race, considering how close that finish was. So certainly there is a ton of time at any racetrack. We talk about some of the difficult racetracks to get on the pit road at. Darlington is one of them. Dover is another one of those racetracks. Any place you can give up time, you can lose time on pit road. But Homestead is not just right into the pit stall and right out. It is, of course, that access road all the way through 3 and 4, and then back out on the inside of 1 and 2. Probably the most time available on green flag stops at this particular track.
Yeah, certainly. And this track does have its own idiosyncrasies, of course. Unlike most oval tracks where you can consider both ends of the track one corner, Homestead is distinctly 4 corners. And it has a little in common with Indianapolis, not because it's flat, of course it's not, but it's distinctly separate corners. You have to tackle it different ways, and that makes it a unique challenge for these drivers, of course. Sometimes you'll find that higher line in 3 and 4 does actually work. It certainly does in 1 and 2, and it depends how these guys will set these trucks up. But expect towards the end of the race with a hot lower line, they'll be migrating further and further up. In fact, if we look at Malik Ray right now, he's running a whole lane clear off the bottom.
And Malik Ray is deciding, well, forget the top side, or forget the low side, I should say, and I'll just move a little bit up and see how that works. So entering turns 3 and 4, he's not, like you mentioned, Rachel, not running the directly low side. I've participated in a few not hosted, but more official races at this track, and pretty much won. But I did notice the fact that a lot of drivers were taking that same line that Malik Ray is running very early on, not directly next to the white line, but a little bit of a lane up, a little bit of a truck width up on to another higher lane. James Torrey, or Brennan Holder, however, is completely foregoing all of that, and I believe he's using just a little bit of a higher lane as well. So 2 different lines essentially being worked right now, and while Holder is just on the very top of that, on top of the darker portion of that racetrack.
And that's something that it could be very different as he works lap 43 now than what we may see a little bit later on, say at lap 143. Very visually, you'll see the rubber get put down on track. You talk about the little bit of warmer conditions, 92 degrees track temp, and that might creep up a little bit as this race goes on, but certainly these drivers are going to run around the racetrack differently based on how long into the race we are. Now, of course, also I should say, how long into a run you are. Maybe on the fresher tires, so zip around right on the bottom of the racetrack. Maybe as those tires start to fall off, you will move up further and further. The top 5, top 6 now really starting to spread out, much like we saw in the first run. Still pretty tight mid-pack here, though. John Vergen, the number 48 machine in 9th spot. It's exactly where he started. He is is in front of Tim Marlowe right now, but the 28's kind of a sandwich in between Verga in front of him and Sean M. Ryan behind. There's a couple of packs of 4 or 5 cars like this that just cannot get away from each other. Stark contrast to up front. Back here, you've got 4 trucks within half a second of each other, P9 through 12.
Yeah, we're certainly doing. That's the real kind of pack we're seeing of this race, and that's where these guys are trying to make time. Oh, big problems here!
Oh.
Right as we said it there, that was a tie-up with, I believe, the 48 truck. Just got completely sided with John Verga. We just talked about him there. Coming off 4, and he got a little close to the wall. He pulled the wheel a bit, and he hit the wall, in fact. It sent him down the track, come back up. Nowhere for the 28 to go, sorry. Of Tim Marlowe, who's had bad luck already today going all the way back. And well, that threw our caution flag out for the second time tonight on lap 46.
I think what happened with that 48 is that, again, like you mentioned, Rachel, he did hit the outside wall, and I think what he meant to do was try and actually got a little bit loose before he hit the wall, moved down to the inside, tried to catch it and move back up to protect that position, but unfortunately that just took him out of the equation. But great avoidance by the 56 of Kerry Allen Stewart from that incident.
So a tough call for the drivers involved, but some evasive actions from Stewart and others means that they'll pick up a couple of positions. Second yellow at the opening 50 laps. Pit road's going to be open once more, and this could be a big battle for the race lead. Malik Ray has been pretty much picture perfect on pit road for a majority of the season. That's another place in the pit stall. Forget about pit road entry under green, pit road exit under green. Not missing the stall under yellow, and everybody enters pit road oh so closely. A small mistake could cost you upwards of 5 positions. You got to hit the box right, and you're going to watch Brandon Holder. The 5's going to pull to the left way earlier than Ray. And with Holder qualified to P15, he's in one of the first pit stalls, so the 5 car goes in. Malik Ray is going to go all the way down to the end. The call for everybody is going to be 4 tires, and the field question is who's the best at it.
Absolutely, it's going to be who can manage to get into that box without sliding too far, get it straight for the crew. Sure, you get that service time down as much as possible, and people think there's a mad science to it, or it's random timings. And you'll see there is, the 28 car Marlowe, who's had more problems yet, comes in at an angle, has to back up again. But the straighter you are in the box, and the quicker you stop in the box, the sooner the service can start, the sooner you'll be done. So you practice those pit box stops, and it's going to benefit you hugely. A lot of drivers don't do that. A lot of drivers don't even practice green flag stops a lot of the time. They just practice lapping. Lapping is only one part of racing. Even yellow flag pit stops are a huge time to gain advantage. You gain a 10th, 2 tenths, you can pass somebody.
And it's pretty much all under green, where you just have under green and under caution, where you just have to practice your pit stops. Essentially, you could just go into a lone test and just make sure that you know what to do and what your stall is going to be. Essentially, I mean, especially since they've got practice as well in this session, about an hour's worth, so they definitely do have time to practice their pit stops just to make sure, whether it's under caution or at least under green, just to make sure that they're not going to really spin those tires out on the access road or somehow accidentally overshoot their pit box. And sometimes during the race, well, pressure gets to you, especially if you're one of the, now 3 drivers, so pressure could get to you, and sometimes you overshoot, and you just practice that so many times, it still happens that you just come across one mistake. But if it's only one mistake, well, you're fine. But if it starts happening after every single pit stop, well, you just have to stop a little sooner if you're overshooting, for just one example.
And statistics will tell you, I mean, no one is going to ever not make a mistake at some point. I mean, it's going to happen, doesn't matter how much you practice or how little you do. At one point, you're going to miss the pit stall. Everybody up front did a pretty good job. Holder loses a spot, so Paul Bliss picks up for him, and he'll take over the second position. But the question mainly is, I think, more so, when is that mistake going to be made? If you make the mistake on the 3rd or 4th race of the year, will it suck? Yeah. Does it suck if you make it at the round of 16? Sure, but a mistake at around to 16 won't hurt you nearly as much as a mistake would here tonight in the Championship 4. Just another update on your playoff drivers. We're trying to keep you posted of where they are as all these yellow flags, restarts, and whatnot work through. Malik Ray continues to lead. Brandon Holder is 3rd position. Matt Kingsbury up to a race-high P7 after starting way back in 19th. And in fact, he is tied right now with Holder as your biggest movers. And just as I say that, it looks like that the number 85 machine of Paul Bliss a little bit out of line for the restart here. So it'll mix up that number a little bit, but it is indeed Holder in 3rd So those two drivers, Holder and Kingsbury, not good Q efforts. They needed to pick up, and, well, they're your biggest movers, so they're doing a good job of closing it in on Malik Ray. Long way from home, 50 laps down, 150 to go as we get set for a restart.
Yeah, we certainly do. The truck's all queued up, ready to rock this one again. And on the backstretch here, we're just going to make sure everything's racked and stacked, ready to roll for this one. On lap 50 will be our restart onto 51, of course. So that's 150 laps remaining as we cross the line. 3/4 of this race left to go, and well, times we've been flying so far. These guys are certainly putting on a great show tonight. I hope we're going to get a decent groove out of this one.
That's going to be the key thing for this race, or this restart, I should say. And Malik Ray's second time choosing the outside lane, so hopefully he will be able to retain that outside lane with Paul Bliss on the inside on this restart.
His car did it down and in. It worked last time, so he'll go back to the top, and it is immediate start for Malik Ray. He'll check out quarter distance in tonight's LOWLINE Racing 300. You pull a good gap, and 3 wide for second spot. Here comes Holder on the inside. He wants P2 back, and he's got it. Snatches it away from Paul Bliss, and Bliss on the inside line now holds off a charge from Brad Neer, but Brandon Holder hungry back into P2 just as quick as he lost it.
Certainly is, and Brad Neer in the LSRTV truck has been patient on these restarts towards the front. There's been a bit of wobble there from the 85 truck of Bliss, but he's been quite patient on these restarts, making sure he's got, he knows he's got speed, but he's been very careful in terms of how he actually executes his move. He waits a couple of laps before he starts to put it on these guys, because he doesn't want to get into too much trouble. This is sensible, clever racing from Brad Neer. He's going to be a threat towards the end.
Yeah, it could be very much of a threat, especially since I think we believe we saw him earlier. There goes Lemons. He got a little bit of the apron on the inside. Slides up in front of the 88. Gregory Thompson twice, actually. So Thompson decides out to the inside. I don't think Lemons could let him go, actually. So Gregory Thompson really getting held up as Lemons wants to retain that 5th place position that he has for the time being.
It's all you want to do, I think, try to limit damage. And, of course, we talked about the dynamic of championship playoff drivers racing against not-playoff drivers. Doug, somebody who was eliminated earlier this year with a round of 12. Of course, I've mentioned one last week at ISM Raceway. Would like to get another one here, but he's fallen way back, and he'll be involved in some 3 wide as the 21 man Kingsbury going to snatch a spot away from him. That's critical at the overall championship picture. Kingsbury wants 2 spots, and he'll get it. Not only does he get one from the falling Lemons, but he'll also get a spot from Perry Snelson and Matt Kingsbury. Now at a race high P6.
Big move there from him, of course. And keep an eye on Kingsbury. He's a ruthless racer. He's got his brother Ray on the pit box for him tonight, which will be a big help for him. The 70 truck behind him, Lemons, definitely faster. He's going to want to try and get back past that. He's back in terms of where he was running. Look at this, Brad Neer right now at the 85 truck of Paul Bliss. Side by side here, Bliss on the higher side will be a little faster at this stage for him, and he gets a bit of a bumpy run off the corner, which is why he comes down so much, exiting that corner compared to the 9 of Neer, but Neer slots up behind him for turn 3 as these guys just rocket away from the field.
And speaking of rocketing away, Brendan Holder just went right by the 20 of Malik Ray. So Brendan Holder is now in the lead. So now it's going to be Malik Ray's turn to look at the back bumper and possibly the distancing back bumper of Brendan Holder, provided he can keep that momentum that he has right now versus Malik Ray. Well, at the same time, they're still running essentially equal lap times, both in the zone of the 31.6. So for the time being, they are relatively equal, and this could be, again, this is also essentially championship and as well as a race win on their hands. And Malik Ray just got a lot of momentum and closed the gap ever so slightly in turns 3 and 4 that time around.
And I'm thinking, and listen, I don't know what the driver's personal preferences are, so I don't know if they'd like the analogy or not, but I think Brandon Holder in this picture is Joey Logano and Malik Ray is Truex. The difference between long and short run speed, the 5 is quick out of the gate. We've seen that the last 2 restarts, but after 10 laps or so, Malik Ray is able to pull by tenths per lap. That's why the 20 machine, don't think he's going to fall back from P2, and I'd be surprised if Brandon Holder leads this race 5 laps from now as Malik Ray's really going to start to come into his element. It is the first time all night that number 20 has had to deal with traffic in front of him, not having the advantage of the wide open track and clean air, but I do think that 20 machine, at least at this juncture, still the better truck. Now, of course, we don't know what Brandon Holder may have done on pit road, continuing to adjust that truck, but I still think Ray's going to have the better long-run machine, and he keeps peaking, and Holder's doing a good job using the outside, getting a run off the corners, continues to lead now. Your top 2, 6/10 ahead of Paul Bliss, who even in 3rd place continues to catch up. Bliss was actually one of the faster trucks on track the last time by.
Yes, it was, and Bliss has definitely been fast, but I think that's been pushed on by, of course, the 9 there. But look at this, Brandon Holder and Malik Ray racing hard here for the lead of this thing, and right now Holder does hold the advantage, 15th to 1st. I told you this guy was fast, and look at he is leading the race, but the 20 truck still coming back at him right now, as it looks like Holder's truck coming into his own as the track warms up with this race here on lap number 60, but Malik Ray is far from done.
Okay, Brandon Holder's found the right line, and it's the perfect timing for Brandon Holder for that track temperature to warm up, and Malik Ray, again, he's still trying to run his normal line as well. Holder running just essentially the same line, just on that dark part of the racetrack, except he's starting to drift up a little bit more to the lighter portions in turns 3 and 4 especially, so don't count out Paul Bliss though, because he's just riding right behind you. He's watching this happen just in front of him, so he could be capitalizing on this as soon as those two go side by side, because they're all running essentially, again, same lap times of 32.4 by both drivers. Malik Ray off turn number 2 still can't get anything. He's been trying that for a while, and I think what he should try to do is get right behind that 5 and run that exact same line.
We'll see if he does want to take, what the 5s do. And certainly the advantage you have as the trailing car is that you can see what that person in front of you is doing, and it helps you obviously build upon your line. I don't think Malik Ray's concerned about trying to find speed. I think he's happy with what he is in now. You could also argue maybe if he doesn't want to just stick with the 5 and it feels like the 5's holding him up, I think Holder is holding Malik Ray up, because look at Paul Bliss. He's practically right there on the doorstep now at 85. So if I'm Malik Ray, if I can't get around the 5, I'm going to go wherever the 5 machine isn't. Trying to find a way through at the inside. It may be the place to be as he peaks down low. The run off the corner going to mean Holder stays in front. But the 20 machine biting away, and if he doesn't get the pass soon, I mean, Paul Bliss going to be right here. So Malik Ray's got to make a move. Don't be surprised if he goes way low, maybe in 3 and 4 now that he's got the inside spot.
I think it's still a stretch. The advantage on the high side for Holder is great for defending here. Ray goes down low, but it's not going to be enough of an overlap. He'll still have Holder on the outside here, and caution flies as he's in the lead theoretically. Does Malik Ray now have the lead of this motor race?
He does, and well, the caution's out, and that's in turns 3 and 4. Not for Sean Ryan, who got involved, but Matt Kingsbury and Paris Nelson made contact. Same thing from earlier on the front straight with the first caution. 21 came down into the left rear quarter panel of the 6, turned Paris Nelson around. Sean Ryan tried to use the top side, and well, that's how he got that damaged engine. So now Matt Kingsbury could be at a disadvantage as well. I'm not seeing any major visible damage on his left front though.
We'll see if that plays a factor or not, but the caution flag is going to bring your race leaders down to the pit lane, and because he had the nose in front, it will be shown that the number 20 of Malik Ray is once again leading this race. Brandon Holder is going to have to try to play catch up on pit road. He lost the spot the last time we were down here, so let's see if the 5 machine is going to be able to turn it around and get things swung back in the right direction. It'll be the 20 machine of Ray, Holder second, Bliss third, near 4, Gregory Thompson P5, as everybody's in for service.
Yeah, they really are right now, and that's going to shake this one around. Of course, lap 65 here, so we're not really in a position for it, but they'll reset, of course, onto a new strategy here, give us a whole fresh run. A lot of trucks coming into strange angles to their boxes here, which is, of course, this inexperience of stops. You'd think they'd be used to it by now, but people, like I said, don't put practice into it as these guys are coming in for that service. We're going to see where they filter out. Of course, Ray has the advantage of the last box on pit road, but he is in a slight angle. But he has the shortest run off there, so he does retain that by quite a margin. Look at this, 9 car, or truck, Bradley in third place, gains a spot here.
And that's a great job by that number 9 and Brad Neer. Good double check to see what he did on his pit stop. He also took 4 tires as well, so that's going to send the 85 of Paul Bliss down into the 4th place position, who I think may have actually slid into his pit box. Looking at this again, locked up his tires for a few moments and then he got into his pit box. So just so much as locking up your tires can also completely mess up your pit entry as well, enough for at least one position, as unfortunately evidenced by Paul Bliss. And well, since Matt Kingsbury was essentially the cause of the caution, he's going to get an EOL penalty, so the lowest he'll be from what I'm seeing right now is at least 16th.
And of course, that is going to have major championship implications, as it was that number 21 machine who initiated the contact with Perry Snelson in a fight that was at that moment for 7th and 8th position. And listen, I'm sure Kingsbury's argument is going to be that the 6 came down a little bit early, but I am surprised that, if you're a playoff driver like Kingsbury, you would even dare go into a quarter that close to somebody else. And, back to the earlier incident, if I'm Longwood or somebody else, why would you even be that close to James Torrey? It's a long race. I think you have the time to be cautious. Just put a car length in between you if you're side by side. We're only racing at lap, 66 right now is what we're pacing on of 200. Plenty of time. Maybe a little bit reckless from both the playoff drivers and the non-playoff drivers for what we have seen thus far. It's certainly been an exciting 9 weeks up until this point of the Bomb Track Fabrication playoffs, and I want to say thanks to our friends over at Bomb Track Fabrication, specializing in building custom race cars and CNC machine chassis components for both the racing and industrial sectors. All of their components are made in the USA. For more information on how to get free shipping and up to 5% off your first order, you can go to bombtrackfabrication.com for more info. Title sponsor of the eSpeed Contender Series, Bomb Track Fabrication Playoffs. Up front, lights on top of the pace car are out. Wave by. Going to go to Tim Marlowe, who will rejoin the lead lap, and we'll re-rack him in a race stack of Malik Ray, once again choosing the outside line. Brandon Holder was able to hang on to second, so he'll be inside of the front row P2. And your third playoff driver, Matt Kingsbury. All that work that he did to get up front has been erased as he restarts in 15th.
Yeah, underline penalty for Kingsbury after that incident, so that's, of course, the cause of the caution. Gets the underline, and, well, he has to go to the end of that longest line at the moment, which is unfortunate for him, but the 21 track definitely has speed. We'll see him come back at this thing, but everybody is racked and stacked again, ready to go back to green for this thing down here in Miami, Florida. Of course, as Homestead, a phenomenal track for racing, it definitely brings a whole different side of things. We'll see most of these incidents be fairly small things so far, no big problems on the racetrack, which is a good thing. Good majority of our field still running well. 16 trucks on that lead lap with Tim Marlowe, of course, who is coming back around. He got the wave around, he's rejoining that field. Of course, Snelson out of the race on pit road, so is Ryan, Verga, Everhart, Logwood, and Torrey. So all our green flag comes out there as all 16 running trucks on the lead lap go back to green, and it's a very sloppy start.
And not a good start on the inside for Brandon Holder. He did not get going. He got a shot at the back end from Brad Neer. It slowed everybody up down low. It's fine for Malik Ray, though. He'll lead at a turn number 2. Holder still in second. Paul Bliss remains third.
I was going to mention that the last time Malik Ray took the outside, Paul Bliss was on the inside. He didn't get going, and the 5 had a better start than the 85. Well, same thing happened this time around, so now I can start to see why Malik Ray is starting to take to the outside lane, but maybe it's just that Paul, or the 5 of Brandon Holder, he wasn't really prepared for that. So if he is back on the inside lane, though, the next time a caution comes out next to the leader, at least, hopefully he'll be able to be a little bit more prepared. But I think he's starting to reel in that number 20 again, so that short run car is starting to play into effect as well.
We'll see how these drivers are able to adapt to a race that has had a handful of yellows early. Certainly not, overly frequent, but a race that I thought we might see go green for upwards of 100 laps. It's still possible. The restarts are keeping things fluid as far as the running order. Kingsbury up to 12th. He'll take another spot away from Ryan Lang, so already in 11th position. He's somebody who we're going to watch go through the field. But watch Brandon Holder. It's about this deep into the run that last time that on that short run speed, the 5 Silverado was able to go to the race lead. He is all over Malik Ray to the inside. Here's the move. Battle for P1 amongst Championship 4 drivers.
Certainly is, and this could decide this race. This championship here is a good run there by Holder, who slides up in front of Ray there, loses a little bit of momentum. Ray might come back at this. 85 Bliss still in the picture here as Ray gets a bigger run off the corner. Won't be enough to take advantage into 3 and 4 though, but sets him up for another good run into 1.
This could set up a pass for Paul Bliss, though. I mean, just before the last caution came out, he was still behind both of these drivers. And there goes Malik Ray up the racetrack again. And nope, Paul Bliss couldn't get to the inside off of turn number 4 there. So starting to see something that the same line that Malik Ray wants to run is starting to move his car unintentionally up just a little bit more than he really wants to. And he's starting to fade back now. And starting to fade right to that front bumper, the 85. So this could play into effect, and Malik Ray may now want to start looking for a little bit of a different line, or just wearing those tires as much as possible. Take that same line again and slides up again a little bit earlier than he wants to as well. This could put the opening again for Paul Bliss, and still can't get to the inside, but just a little bit closer than the last time around.
That's all you hope on, just a little bit each time through, and over the course of 300 miles, those things are certainly going to add up. This Lowline Racing 300, the longest race of this 2018 eSpeed Contender Series. And, of course, it'll add a little bit of extra element. It'll certainly give you a chance to save your race. If you're somebody like a Kingsbury, that much more time to, of course, recover. But if I'm leading after 200 miles or 250 miles and, you know, it's that extra distance where the guy makes the pass, I'll certainly be kicking myself. You got to be ready for this thing to go long at any moment, but it has been pretty normal thus far. Lap number 74 in the works for race leader Brandon Holder. Your top 3, I think, have kind of solidified themselves as the fastest. I think Brad Neer a little bit off, but I mean the top 4 is still a significant difference from 5th on back. You're talking about Brad Patterson in P5 holding off Keith Stewart. That's a good fight for position. Doc Stout back tonight, the 62 machine at a group also, but with those cars over 3 seconds off, your top 3 and I think plus Brad Neer if he can get a little bit more the class of the field.
So he does, and Brad Neer is definitely trying to get himself involved in this conversation. He's not quite there yet, but it's definitely a 3-truck races. These two fighting brings Paul Bliss right up to their doorstep, and that's one thing we'll have to keep an eye on, of course, is that lead battle is side by side still, but it's up the track for 5:20, holding his low line. Defending now from Bliss, is Bliss really up on these two now, and definitely could about to make a move here on Ray, which will shake things up dramatically, but Ray has him on the low side, which is of course a benefit in terms of the draft, which is still a huge thing on this track as he gets him up alongside the 5. This is going to change things.
And side by side again off of turn number 2, it's going to be that number 20 Malik Ray, and just like Paul Bliss had managed to get to the back bumper, this could help him out again, except he can hopefully get to the inside a little bit quicker. But both drivers sliding up the racetrack, and every time I see them slide up the racetrack, I feel like they're going to on them to get the outside wall, but this time Malik Ray stayed to the inside lane a little bit longer. He stayed on the inside of that 5 a little bit longer after turn number 4, and a little bit longer now into turns 1 and 2. So trying to get to the lead and get that lead back is going to be that number 20 on the back straightaway.
And the concern is, again, I think that 5 a little bit better now, but once it starts to swing in favor of Malik Ray, that's how Paul Bliss is able to get into this, because the 5 is holding him up a little bit on the inside. It was pretty much right at this moment when that last yellow came out. Ray had never completed that move on Holder. Holder probably would have got that same run he just got there, and this battle would have continued on, but the caution came out when Malik Ray had a nose in front, and this time it is going to come to fruition inside for the lead. Malik Ray back to P1 at lap number 78.
Yeah, that's absolutely huge there as Malik Ray gets himself back out front again, but 95 here, or 85 of Bliss, sorry, right there with them. Near just not quite as close yet, but if these guys keep throwing this into the ring, that 9 truck will be right with them right now. Of course, Brad Patterson leading that second group there with Kingsbury, Stout, Stewart, and of course Carrie Allen Stewart as well there. But Kingsbury, look at that. He's flown back up through this field off that restart. Back in 6th place.
I restarted in 15th position, actually, so my goodness gracious. So it's pretty much essentially, what, 15 positions? Sorry, not 15 positions, but restart 10 positions, I should say. Almost 10 positions, so finally get by, or at least try to get by the 42, and we can get by the 42, then it'll be 10 positions. Can I clear him off to number 4 is the question. Well, start-finish line, he'll make it, but not just yet. He won't be able to clear the 42. Hopefully, just coming off of turn 2, he will.
So there you go for the 5 machine. Brandon Holder is able to stay in front of Bliss for the time being. A lot of battle. Leaving behind him, check the paddle out. Patterson, Keith Stewart, drivers we've been talking about. The 7s on the inside. Matt Kingsbury up to 5th. Somebody else who we had just followed up through the field. So I'm very impressed with the 21 machine. I think this is the best that truck has been all night. And a lot of the time you can get involved in an incident. That damage is really going to hinder you. Of course, we questioned if James Torrey would be able to get back into the race. The resounding answer to that was a no. He has not run a lap since his incident. But Matt Kingsbury, if anything, probably left rear damage after the contact was on the right front. He'll win out in this battle, and he'll leave Keith Stewart, Brad Patterson to fight amongst themselves as the 7 thought about coming up in a 42, opted not to. He'll take P6 this time, but Matt Kingsbury back into the top 5. He's 4.7 seconds off of the race leaders. That's the big thing that hurts when you have to come through the field with the 21 machine. Pretty good lap times, not race-leading lap times, but certainly putting himself in a conversation with a lot of laps to spare, 118 to go next time through.
Yeah, battling through trucks that are all neck and neck is easy. You've got the aerodynamics there, you've got the draft. But now, 5 seconds back, it's a whole different conversation he's just joined, because he is too far away from Brad Neer to really get involved, as Neer is actually reeling in Bliss and Holder and Ray. So that gap is definitely changing. They're all spreading out here as Malik Ray once again sits off into the sunset, but they're definitely being caught. That's the interesting thing. We might see a change for 2nd or 3rd here. But Ray has to really keep himself going here. He's pulling away, and it should be a good one for him, but at the moment, Ray, his long run pace has been great. That's the big thing for him. This is where he starts to separate out, of course, on a run. About halfway through, and he just runs off, and the cautions aren't helping him. He's hoping for a green run here. This would be what will win him this race. If he can get a good green run in, maybe a green flag pit stop cycle, that's exactly what Ray needs.
Yeah, that's exactly what Malik Ray needs. I mean, pretty much the entire top 3 is within 32 seconds, so just stick with the last 2-3 digits. Malik Ray has a .770, a .861 for Brendan Holder, and a .914. So all 3 drivers essentially are 10th off of each other respectively. But Brad Neer, however, he's going to start catching up in probably a few laps time to at least 3rd place. So look for that number 9 to slowly work his way into the picture of the top 3.
And that's the objective that these drivers are going to try to play off. Of course, the questions are those yellows and timing and pit stops, and it is the variables that it certainly makes it a lot more difficult for drivers to track. But Malik Ray, if this race goes green, has the best opportunity to win this race. But I do enjoy, we haven't seen it yet, but it always seems like somehow these races come down to, a line of championship 4 cars in a row battling for the race win. They don't even have to win the race to win the title. All you got to do, finish higher than your 3 fellow competitors. We cannot have those cars run 1, 2, 3, 4 at any point tonight because James Torrey is out. But based on speed, wouldn't at all be surprised if at some point Ray, Holder, and Kingsbury in some sort of order make up the top 3 positions on the racetrack. Although Kingsbury's kind of burnt himself out a little bit. He stormed through the field maybe too quick. He's lost P5 in the last couple of times by to Keith Stewart. So maybe he burned him up a little bit too much.
Yeah, maybe he did. I think he might have just done exactly that. And it's very easy to do so when you're following other trucks and you're trying to keep pace. It can really cost you that, and it puts you in a position where you've used up everything getting there. It doesn't feel like you're overusing the truck, but the draft allows you to use the tyres more than you want to, and that can really just kind of bitey cliff that the truck hits, just drop straight off.
And we will see if maybe because the 21 machine, and then again, that's just kind of a spitball. And if he feels like he overdrove it a little bit on the early end of the run, maybe he makes an earlier pit stop. One thing that we have yet to see this evening are green flag stops. Now 87 laps in to this 200-lap contest, 16 trucks at a lead lap. That's roughly the number of trucks still in this race. Bobby Everhart is on track in 20th, 67 laps down. If he stays out there, he could gain as many as 3 spots from the trucks that have appeared to be out of this race in front of him. So that's what you call dedication. Like we said, not everybody shows up to the last race of the season, especially if they're not involved in it. So 22 trucks, a good number. If Bobby Everhart can sneak into P17, I'll give him a tip of the cap for sneaking through it. But certainly everybody trying to fight for what they can, and it has been a fun, what is now 10 weeks for us covering these bomb track fabrication playoffs. And well, nothing, I suppose, is set in stone yet. Every intention to have eSpeed Contender Series action with you every Wednesday through 2019. So I look forward to the next season of action. And, of course, for a lot of these drivers, their sights are set on next year. I don't think really that getting a good result tonight, Rachel, gives you any sort of momentum headed into Daytona, like a win or a good finish last week at Phoenix would do coming into tonight. But certainly make you feel better going into the offseason. Do it on a positive note and a wreck for PA. It is Kerry Allen Stewart into the outside wall.
No caution. No caution because of the gap on track when it happened. That's the surprise because he went fully around. I'm genuinely shocked actually because when he went around, he was fully sideways in front of a truck. So that's a completely weird iRacing moment there where I don't know exactly what happened, but contact between himself there and that would have been the number 20 or 32 again. Another truck involved in incidents, Brent Keith. As wow, Karen Stewart completely out of this one.
Out of it after contact with a 32 machine. It looked like it was Brent Keith who caught the left rear, spun him around, and Brent Keith is going to be able to continue on. If that does bring out a yellow, Keith probably gets hit with an end of the longest line penalty. Instead, he cannot be penalized if it is not a caution. So Brent Keith gets away with one there, and obviously it is very unfortunate for Kerry Allen Stewart. Not a ton of damage on the 56. It did back into the outside wall, but the big killers there is all the time lost trying to turn around and get back up to speed. Stewart falls to 15th and 15 trucks on a lead lap after that incident. But we stay green and continue on, no changes.
We certainly do. That was unfortunate. Of course, Karen Stewart comes down from pit road for service after that big hit. But the truck's on track. Not really much happening to them right now other than the 9 of Near catching Bliss as his tyres go off. And this is one thing we said, Brad Near's truck uses his tyres very gently, and he's just allowing himself to catch up here as these guys at the front are falling back towards him. And that's exactly what he wanted to see happen. Ray and Holder, they've pulled away, of course, but Bliss, he's dropped right onto him. And now look at that Near closing in so fast here. We're going to have a pass in a lap or so. He's just caught right up to this one, the 28 truck. Tim Marlowe having the worst night of his season up there, but the 9 looking for an opportunity. Doesn't want to go 3 wide just yet as the 30 or the 85 wobbling quite a bit there. Bliss next to Marlowe.
And got really loose off of turn number 4 there, so really close moment there. And on time at 70 of Lennox had gotten around the Stewart while he was already off the racetrack. But right now, Brad Near managed to get alongside the 85 for a few moments there, Bill tucking right behind in that slipstream of the 85. So just like Rachel mentioned, is that again saving those tires and letting everyone fall back to him. It's really starting to pay off now as he's starting to go side by side again, trying to move his position up to 3rd place for the time being.
And should also note, I was talking about how Kerry Allen Stewart didn't have a ton of damage. Well, that car has since been brought to pit road, so it looks like Stewart's night may be done. That machine is getting serviced, but if that truck does go back out onto the racetrack, it is going to be down multiple laps, and effectively what was a battle for 8th position will end Kerry Allen Stewart's evening. So the attrition rate you're starting to see come into play, that means less trucks on track, that means more separation. Statistically, that would mean that a better chance that this race gets a lot of green flag action in. Matt Kingsbury recently returning to the back bumper of Keith Stewart, got that spot spot, lost it, and wants to come back for it, but there's an even a closer fight to the front. But the 85 of Paul Bliss trying to hold off Brad Neer, one of the longer runs we've seen thus far, and Neer may be shining on the long run speed as he makes it easy, pass on the outside of the 85.
As we just talked about, of course, he is definitely showing a longer run truck than others here as Bliss gets a bit of that draft speed under his car, which makes you think he has a chance to come back at this when in reality it's mostly the draft, not his tyres, as without that being a wall of air that would just hold him back. Brad Neer, though, setting up and starting to pull away here, especially fast through the exits of the corners. That's where he really makes his time in turn 2 and turn 4.
Yeah, he does have that clean air and better exit on the out of turn 2 and turn 4 like you did mention, so a little bit of a same line actually that I believe the number 5 was running a little bit earlier on, and well, pretty much of the large gap between the entire top 3, or top 3 drivers I should say, so all relatively the same distance for the most part just by looking at it by eye level. A little bit larger distance up between second and third, but I don't doubt that if this run keeps going on, then Brad Neer will definitely be able to reel in that second place driver of Brandon Holder.
To reel him in, it is a long way from home. Holder closer to Malik Ray than Neer is to him. It's about a 2-second plus difference between the second and third placed trucks on at the moment. The lap time's pretty incredibly even from Malik Ray and Brandon Holder. So I would kind of put this into the positive category if I'm in that Brandon Holder camp, keeping Malik Ray within an honest distance, relatively being able to stay even with them on the long run.
85 of Bliss has had a massive wobble coming off turn 2, and that's just cost him a huge amount of lap track position, I should say, to the number 9 of Brad Neer. This comes all the way down to the bottom line there off turn 2 as he just catches that bump on old tyres, and it really hurt him.
Yeah, hurt him to the point of where he's fallen back essentially. It's now starting to become really visible, and he was pretty much about maybe 3/4 that distance just the last time around, but now that's completely widened itself out, and he's fallen a little bit closer now to that 21 Matt Kingsbury, who's now in 5th, so this could start to shape out to be, even though it's spread out, could shape out to be a little bit of a battle if this run continues on.
We'll see how it does continue on. What I can promise you is there are 100 laps down and 100 laps to go. We are halfway in the LOWLINE Racing 300, so let's take this opportunity to take a look at our iRacing midway race break, brought to you by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game with professionally organized racing from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, and so many more. Lap 101, your pole sitter Malik Ray is in front. He hasn't led every single lap, but with a 1.5 second advantage over Brandon Holder P2, he has been the best truck of the night, undeniably. Brad Neer, recently we watched that position change. The 9 truck currently scored in 3rd. He's pulled a second ahead of Paul Bliss 4th, and Matt Kingsbury recently back around Keith Stewart in 5th. So Stewart will fall down to P6. Brad Patterson is scored in 7th. Brent Keith right now runs in the number 8 spot. Doc Stout is 9th, and Ryan Lang rounds out your top 10.
P11 tonight, of course, Gregory Thompson with Tim Marlowe running 1 lap down in 12th place. Damian Pilsmer, 13th place with James Hickson on pit road in 14th. Doug Lemons on the track, back there, 3 laps down, 15th place. Carolyn Stewart is returned to the track, 7 laps down in 16th. Paris Nelson is unfortunately still on pit road, as is Sean Ryan. John Verga, Bobby Everhart's back on track, trying to get himself back some laps, as is Timmy Logwood Jr., who's actually gone back, I should say, to the pit road. Everhart 67 laps down. James Torrey also retired on 87 laps down. So that is your 22 car field, Evan.
And a look at the bottom at your iRacing midway race break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, you can visit iRacing.com to sign up today. And of course, there is no Cessna Series action with us tomorrow because it is Thanksgiving. And of course, that means Black Friday coming up the day after. Good opportunity for you if you are a new iRacing member and you want to get registered for the first time, or if you are a current iRacing member, some big deals, 30 to 50% off different membership levels. All of that info, you can go to iRacing.com/membership. That is the place we always tell you to go to get the discounts. But also, if you just go to the iRacing.com homepage, tons of opportunities to get 30% off renewals and 50% off new subscriptions. So get on that over the next 2 days, and maybe we can catch you racing with the eSpeed guys headed into 2019. But it is now the longest green flag run of the night, with Malik Ray's gap to 1.5 seconds. We'll take a quick opportunity to step aside. Pit stops not all that far away. There's less than 100 laps to go in the season. Malik Ray, your race leader. You're watching the eSpeed Contender Series on LSR TV and the iRacing Esports Network.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Assist to the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Ray Alfala into the outside wall.
He's going to pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's going to get them all done with. What amazing
Race lead to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is going to touch in. Pit press.
saved it.
What a save.
Look to the outside as Cronkite goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
I tried, there's contact though.
slide left of the racetrack. Chris Venner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact.
He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cutback here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Michael Schubert, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
Headed back live for the virtual Homestead Miami Speedway, 110 laps into this 200-lap season finale. Round 35, the LOWLINE Racing 300 Championship 4 race for the eSpeed Contender Series Bomb Track Fabrication Playoffs. We're happy you're with us at LSR TV, the iRacing Esports Network. Evan Pasoko, Rachel Whiteford, Gary Weaver with you. With you, Louise, bringing us to you downstairs. Malik Ray, still your race leader. There's now only 7 trucks stay on the lead lap, and as they say that, Gregory Thompson gonna dive down to the pit lane. Pit stops have begun over the course of the last couple of times around. Matt Kingsbury, playoff driver, pitted out lap 103. We are still waiting on Malik Ray and Brandon Holder to make their stops. They run first and second on what has now been the longest green flag run all night.
Yeah, it certainly is, and that green flag run is benefiting Malik Ray hugely. 1.7 seconds gap now over Brandon Holder. Brad near 5 seconds adrift, but third place for him. Paul Bliss has served his pit stop right now, of course, these all have to come. And like we said, this benefits Ray and those leaders who are just so much faster, of course. This leaves these guys in a position where they can just plow away from these guys and just make a move past them. Kingsbury has pitted. Look at how fast he is compared to the 9 of Near. Can pull up basically alongside him, just go for a move at will because he has the tyres. But is he overusing what he has early to try and get some track position on the guys who've yet to pit around him? Hard to say, but at the same time, these guys ahead have just got so much track time benefit that they can afford to wait a lap or two, get into the cycle they want rather than reacting to the tyres.
Brandon Holder in his pit box, smooth entry as well, so he'll be fine for the time being. Next up that we're expecting is going to be Brad Neer. He's going to be somewhere around. Malik Ray's actually also in pit road as well. Spoke the tires on the entry at pit road, and well, yeah, he made it under the limit just in time, so he'll be fine. The thing is that he's going to have to be very careful when he heads into his pit box, and Brad Neer's also in just directly behind him as well.
Yeah, so Malik Ray heads down. Brad Neer responds. It's obviously, I think, that move by Ray in recognition and response to the 5 Holder having pitted the lap before. But Malik Ray does come down, so he will relinquish the race lead. It is obviously to be a 4-tire call from this point on, and just trying to set up what this may mean. Malik Ray in at lap 114. He was last on pit road around lap number 66. That is a good, healthy margin of about 50 laps, but I mean, even if you add on to that, that is not going to be enough to get you to the end of this race. So at least another pit stop if this race were to stay green. Malik Ray is going to blend back out and onto the racetrack. The outside line, Kerry Allen Stewart to pull alongside it. But the big news for the 20 Ray is, despite the fact Holder did the short pit, he stays in front of the 5.
He really does, and that's a big benefit for him there, of course, is Holder coming up here, but yeah, Malik Ray just a little bit further ahead and slightly longer run on his tyres, of course, for Holder, which means Ray might have a little bit more of an advantage yet. So that's one to keep an eye on, of course. Brad Neer is going to be dropped back a spot, but he'll soon regain that one, we think.
Hopefully he will be able to, and while Brian Lang is doing a great job, he currently has most positions on track as well, so I think I was about to say one of the only drivers that stayed out, but Matt Kingsbury did pit about 13 laps ago at this point, so many fresher tires, so we could see Malik Ray going by as well as Brendan Holder, and these two have to navigate the lot of traffic, especially Malik Ray. Well, he's ahead of that lot of traffic actually, so one that's really going to be trying to work his way around is Brendan Holder. He's running the same line that he's ran pretty much all night though, for the most part, so he'll be fine as long as he can just quickly navigate this lot of traffic and somehow catch back up as quick as possible.
You want to get back up and into there as soon as you can. Brandon Holder does lose time through all of this, surprisingly. Only about a 1/10 of a second or so. They're pretty much exactly as they were. I mean, pitting 1 lap later doesn't really give the 5 a ton of time to make up a handful, but still within 2 seconds of Malik Ray. But of course, you do have to wait for everybody else to cycle through, and Ryan Lang in the number 31 truck is leading this race. He has not yet pitted on this cycle, but guess who has? Matt Kingsbury, who to the inside is actually going to make a pass for the race lead here. Kingsbury with that short pit just as we stepped aside and went to break there after the halfway point in this race. Matt Kingsbury a lot slower than Malik Ray because his tires are older. He's off by about 2/10 per lap, but if this 21 has some long run speed, the way short pit call may just pay off. It might not necessarily be your race leader by the time we have to pit again at about 50 laps for now, but as long as he has gained from the number 5 spot, which is where he was, I like the call.
It's an interesting call. I don't think it would benefit him more than a spot maybe. Look at the gap that we had before the pit cycle. That was still a maybe 4-5 second gap when he pitted, so it's not a huge advantage. He may not have actually gained anything at all, but he would have gained track position in terms of time, which could be an advantage later on.
Be a massive advantage later on as well. It's just that everyone's going to have to be really careful to somehow manage the tires, and well, right now Kingsbury, of course, back to second place as Malik Ray quickly navigating that lot of traffic as far as Brandon Holder goes, and that number 5, well, he's working his way up as well, just a bit of a slower pace, possibly intentionally as well, so he can know that the 20 wore out his tires a lot more often. So if Brendan Holder can pull what Brad Neer was doing a little bit earlier, and that's being careful and strategic and saving those tires, then in that case, that number 5 Brandon Holder will be absolutely great later on in this run.
It'll certainly be good if you can convert all of this. I think Kingsbury needs this run to be about 10 laps later now. The speed advantage just too much. Malik Ray very easily able to go back by for the race lead, and Brandon Holder relatively easily also going to go down low. 21 basically pulls up and gets out of his way. So Brandon Holder now back to second. He'll be about 2 seconds off from Malik Ray. Matt Kingsbury not able to hold on to the race lead, but it is a big jump from the top 3 to 4th on the back. Ryan Lang, not the greatest of pit stops. Keith Stewart the mix as well. So if Kingsbury can stay third, just don't be 3 seconds slower than the truck behind you. And I think that's certainly something that he is capable of. In fact, Kingsbury has been faster the last couple of times around than those trucks behind him. Brad Neer hot off for the pit lane, a great lap time, but certainly Ryan Lang not the best of lap times. I think Kingsbury could hold third, and he may have to make another one of those short pit calls to win this race. If we go green, Rachel, I don't see Kingsbury just discovering some extra speed to be able to, just be able to catch those guys and make up the difference. Right now, he is not the fastest not one of the fastest two trucks on track. I don't think that just magically changes, but you make an early pit stop, you never know. He needs some help, and this all stems from he's kind of off cycle a little bit. Remember, because he had to restart back in 15th after causing a caution that really hurt him here. He still has a shot, but the longer we go green, the smaller and smaller that window of opportunity is going to get.
And you know what else is getting smaller and smaller? That's the gap between Matt Kingsbury and Brad Neer. Brad Neer last time half a second a lap faster than Kingsbury. We'll have another look this time by to see if it was a fluke lap. Brad Neer did a 32.523, Kingsbury a 33.124. So 0.6 of a second slower. He isn't holding third. He couldn't hold third if he had a humongous, ginormous metal sieve.
No idea how to respond to that, but nonetheless, yeah, Brad Neer, though, is definitely doing a great job at closing that gap between himself and Matt Kingsbury, who still at the moment has the most positions with 16 positions, but when Brad Neer gets by him, and I see Wayne instead of AF, I'm just going to wait till that lap time comes through as well. Yep, 33.1 versus 32.5. That's Kingsbury versus Neer, respectively. That's going to be quite interesting. Could be 15 positions, and then soon it's going to be possibly Brendan Holder with the most positions gained. But that's just going to be something to look out for in this race. Is that something that I'm actually interested in? Is if they will, I'm pretty sure they'll have to pit actually, just at least one more time. The question is, well, it's going to be 2 tires or 4 tires.
It's almost like with the pit stops having to come at 116, if you go another 50 laps, you are still going to be 35 for the end. It might be a long run to go for 2, but you never know. Maybe you push that fuel a little bit extra and try to go not only to obviously limit your time at a pit lane for tires, but the deeper into the race you go and the less laps that remain on the board, you don't have to get as much fuel. Now, that comes down to a couple of things. One, it'll be less time in the pit box itself, but also, some drivers prefer the way that their trucks drive on a full tank of fuel, heavier around the racetrack. Some drivers, depending on what you're feeling, may prefer a lighter truck with less fuel. That's something else that changes over the course of the long run. Not only are those tires wearing and going away, but the weight of that truck change is also a big factor when it comes down to differences that are hundredths of a second or so. It is certainly a thing. As I keep an eye on the intervals here, and I don't think Matt Kingsbury is going to be able to hang on to third. Here comes Brad Neer in the 9 truck. Big run out of 4. They look to the inside, and based on how Kingsbury has handled the last couple of fights he's been in, don't expect much of a pushback. He'll let the 9 go and fall to P4.
Absolutely. Kingsbury seems following the Queensbury rules there of fighting between gentlemen, as he realised Brad Neer just absolutely had way more than he did, and let him have it, because there's not much he could have done there unless he decided to race dirty and block, and it's not how Kingsbury races, so he managed to make it as painless as possible, I think, at that point in time. But the difference in tyres there was absolutely humongous, and also the speed of the car of Brad Neer was just so much bigger.
Even if blocking was how Matt Kingsbury raced, though, that still could put him into a very not much of a great position, I would say, as again he's pretty much he would be again just not in a great position. I mean, sure, he is falling back now, but if you try to protect that position, then in that case, Kingsbury and Neer, if Neer forced him out of the way, that would really completely just destroy the championship hopes of Matt Kingsbury. So Kingsbury doesn't really want to race aggressive. I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to ruin his race unintentionally or intentionally, or just from something that's as stupid as protecting one position where he's pretty much pitted about 10 laps later, or 10 laps earlier, I should say, than Brad Neer, who has way fresher tires.
And I think that it's going to be a relatively, easy pass whenever those guys catch it. He might be safe in a fourth because he's 5.4 seconds ahead of Paul Bliss, who would be the next battle for position. But I think Kingsbury's doing what I kind of advocated for a little bit earlier when we saw two incidents with playoff drivers and non-playoff drivers involved in both, is just give each other more space. Although I was talking at lap 60, lap 131, you're starting to get pretty deep in this race. Matt Kingsbury is going to be double-digit seconds off of the race lead before we even start to think about coming back down to pit road for what would be the final cycle of pit stops on the night. I think what he needs is a yellow. He cannot cause it because the last time he was involved in an incident, he had a penalty that sent him from the top 5 down to 15th. That's where he started. This now, of course, by a lot, by nearly double, actually. Now the longest green flag run of the night. Kingsbury cannot be that cause for the yellow, so it makes sense that he wants to be very careful, not fight for these positions, especially when he knows he's at a significant advantage. But I bet you he's crossing his fingers on the straightaways here, hoping he gets a little bit of help. He's going to need some.
Oh, he absolutely is. And a caution right now would change the dynamic of this race. 4-second lead for Malik Ray to Brandon Holder in second place. Then it's another 4 seconds back to Brad Neer. Another second and a half to Matt Kingsbury after only a couple of laps there. So, yeah, a caution would completely change this. Everybody else is spread out hugely. We've got a load of cars down lap, including Gregory Thompson, Damian Pilsner, Ryan Lang, of course, who was in second, leading this race for a while because he hadn't pitted. But only 9 trucks on the lead lap here, and that could change very, very quickly because Doc Stout is about to be caught by Malik Ray.
Yeah, just got to quickly and smoothly and very carefully navigate the lap traffic, and it's not just Doc Stout as well. It's going to be Doc Stout, Doug Lemons, and Kerry Allen Stewart, although the last two of Doug Lemons and Kerry Allen Stewart, well, they're 14th and 16th respectively. They're not really racing for any positions, and Kerry Allen Stewart moves to the very top side of the racetrack. And we'll see what Malik Ray can do. Stay on the low side, so while that will slow him up just a little bit, I'm watching the interval right now. It's steady at 4.4 seconds, and Scratch Shot dropped to 4.3 for the time being. So aside from that, it's only about a tenth of a second, and well, with that extra 4-second buffer, that's not really going to hurt Malik Ray, as that gap has just gotten back to 4.4 seconds. So Malik Ray is at the moment on a very much of a tear, and just like Evan mentioned with the again, I keep going back to the pit stops just because I keep looking forward to that, because it could be a way for them to make 90 laps, but at the same time with their fuel, not really. So that's the time for the splash and go, and just make sure that you get enough fuel to make it to the end of the race, and not really short fuel the car by mistake, just by miscalculation.
And at that point, you're talking about desperation, about if you're going to swing for the fences like that. But, Malik Ray's been about 2 seconds better than Holder per green flag run. It was a little bit under 2 seconds before we saw the pit stops that last time, and it's roughly doubled. So he's consistently about 2 seconds better. It is starting to get increasingly unlikely for Brandon Holder that you're going to be able to make some noise from 4.4 seconds back. That is a big margin to make up. Hardly the 11.4 that Matt Kingsbury is dealing with from 4th position, but certainly it is something to keep in mind that this is Malik Ray's race to lose at this point if things go as they are now. If this thing goes green to the end, the only way I see Malik Ray losing this race is if he makes a mistake. Holder can try the 2, he can try the less fuel, he can do whatever you want. Malik Ray should win this race if the next 63, now 62 laps of contest under green flag racing conditions. It is those restarts and the resets that are the question mark, and these races tend to go green in the middle. They like to have late restarts. Malik Ray doesn't want to see those, as he would have no problem going to the end after starting up front and by far and large best truck tonight.
Oh, without a doubt, Malik Ray's truck has been absolutely on fire this evening, and we hope it actually doesn't turn it out to be on fire, because that would be really bad for his race. But just a truck that's been completely unmatched by anybody else here on the racetrack, and honestly, I love seeing this. He's had one of these stellar seasons where he's just been a standout driver to me as an out-and-out performer. Not only is he fast, and this is something I want to emphasize here, not only is he fast, but he's shown repeatedly he's a very talented racer. He can fight other people for position. He is clean, he is fair, and he does it the right way round. It's not just this guy qualifies on pole and runs away with every race. No, not at all. He's had to fight for positions, and he does it well.
He does a great job at that, and he's also fought for the last, let me actually count this, 4 races in the 3 of which in the round of 16, 1 of which in the round of 8, which got him into this race as well, essentially. So that's going to be something to really look out for later in this race, I should say. But right now, I mean, Malik Ray's been, well, for lack of a better term, pretty much just what Rachel said, on fire. Just, again, hopefully not literally on fire. But yeah, Malik Ray's shown a lot of performance, and he's definitely showing that he's still got it for the time being, and at the moment he's looking like he's on an amazing pace till the end of the race.
Very good pace, and it doesn't look like he is slowing down at all. In fact, I think Malik Ray may be better right now than he has been at any other point tonight. And the very long end of that last run, 35, I think 40 or so laps in, is when we started to see the advantage for the 20 truck start to seep away a little bit, and that has not at all been the case tonight. He is only continuing to add to the gap. The last time by a 1/10 of a second better than a Holder. Malik Ray puts down another 33.0, and it is a 33 high point twos for Holder. So Malik Ray only getting more and more dialed in. When you give somebody who's good on the long green flag runs to work with, he's only going to get better. Basically practicing a hot lap every single time around. 5 seconds now, the biggest gap he's had all night on a green.
Yeah, and that's stellar. Seeing 5-second gap on an oval, and then 5 seconds from second to third, that's huge. This is like road course racing. These guys are absolutely on this thing. But this is what I said about this track changing. It's also the drivers who can adapt to how this track changes in terms of rubbering and temperature. But also the fact it is 4 corners. You are having to drive this track more than any other oval on the circuit, other than perhaps Pocono. And it's really showing.
Yeah, it's insanely showing. And just on the topic of how many essentially comparisons of a oval to a road course, well, there is the lead gap, which is now 5.6 seconds. It's hovering around there, versus almost 8 drivers from 8th on back, 1 lap down. Brad Patterson is the driver that's in 8th place, and he's eventually about to be lapped by the 20 Malik Ray. So it's a good thing, though, that all these drivers are laps down just from a green flag run, but it's not so good for the drivers that aren't doing that aren't really getting any advantage off of this. Almost a 6-second gap as well, as Malik Ray's going to take to the top side of the 42, who Curtis, I don't even know how to say that, who moves out of the way in courtesy. I believe that should work out. So Brad Patterson now 8th place and 1 lap down, with only now 7 drivers on the lead lap.
And doing what you expect for a driver who is, of course, not battling for not only the championship, but I mean, P8's a great spot to be in, don't get me wrong, but P8 in a lap down is different than, being P8 5 seconds off of the race lead. So Brad's a veteran, he knows that, he gets out of the way, lets Malik Ray going through, and Malik Ray passing him is significant only in the fact that now if Miguel were to come out, he'd have to take the lucky dog. He is the lucky dog right now, as the first car lap down. Brent Keith would be the next truck to get lapped. He's 8 seconds, though, still up the road from Ray. So Patterson's in a pretty good spot, lets him go, no worries. The only drivers he's worried about are Doc Stout and Gregory Thompson, who behind him, 9th and 10th position. And of course, great to see Doc back with us this evening in the 62 truck, wishing him well. And he is running into the 9 spot, so he's doing a good job. There's 4 trucks right now, 1 lap down, 2 trucks 2 laps down, one of them only 3 laps down, and at that point, most of the trucks are out of this race. But Malik Ray gonna have to deal with a truck here, a truck there. I think the main concern would be, Rachel, 53 to go next time by, is maybe you lose a little bit of focus, you lose that sharpness when you're on this long of a run. And I mean, Malik Ray's gonna see the cars that he's catching, but my only concern would be if I'm a lap machine, if you see him, certainly you're gonna get out of the way, but you almost kind of get a tunnel vision, you don't focus, and you gotta be up on the wheel. And that's why I wouldn't be surprised if Malik Ray's spotter or crew chief isn't doing it, that he's doing it also. You'll see drivers do this at plate tracks, let lapped cars know, hey, I'm coming up on the inside, or I'm gonna be coming up on the outside, or whatever. Wouldn't be at all surprised if he's doing that to these trucks now. They don't want to catch anybody off guard.
Absolutely. I mean, these guys will be in the zone. They'll just be focusing on their race and their track, and they will perhaps look in the rearview mirror if they've got a good gap on everybody. So yeah, I'm sure he'll be letting them know. He'll be saying, yeah, I want to go this way or that way, and the spotters will be communicating to get him through as convenient as possible. But these guys, of course, want to maintain as much time as possible they can too. They don't want to be fighting somebody who they're not in the race with. So they want to make sure they've got time to gain on the people around them. So they just make it as easy as possible. It benefits them as Malik Ray gets past another truck and has another truck coming off pit road to contend with. Keep his eyes on that. Doesn't want any silly mistakes.
Yeah, back to Evan's point of essentially tunnel vision is that it's going to be essentially, if you've been doing this for this amount of time, which is essentially the longest run that we've had, it starts to get to you. Just do the same thing over and over. Next thing you know, like Evan said, you start to lose focus, and well, next thing you know, you're either going to be entering the corner a little bit too fast or braking a little bit too early and losing your momentum, and that's just without the tires wearing off as well. So that's something that you have to be, like Evan said, just up on the wheel and attentive at all times as much as possible.
That's all you can hope. It's not, you're not going to be able to nail it every single time around. That kind of goes back to the discussion that we had a bunch earlier on in this race about mistakes on a pit road, that everyone's going to make one. The question is how many and when. And certainly you go out there and do your best. Some drivers best, a little bit better than others, as kind of an unexpected fight as Matt Kingsbury. That short pit is really not worked out. I'll have to maybe back off of my claim that I thought it was going to work out for him. 18 seconds behind Malik Ray in fourth, and Paul Bliss challenging. It's a fight for fourth and fifth right now.
It really is, and I just don't think he's really got much to defend with there, as he just has to give it up to Bliss almost immediately, the same as the fight with Nia a couple of laps ago. He hasn't got anything for it, unfortunately. He just has to let him go and do his thing as he comes to pit road himself. Looks like it's time for service for Kingsbury with 49 to go.
Yeah, so he did pit 10 laps earlier the last time around, roughly 10 laps earlier, and he's going to be really loose. So this is looking familiar in terms of pit entry, but he'll make it under the pit road speed in time. So something that's going to be something that I'm estimating now is the fact that these drivers, the rest of the lead lap cars, are going to be pitting about 10 laps from now. As smooth into his pit box is going to be that 21 Kingsbury. So I'm expecting now these drivers to come in about 10 laps from now, 10 to 20 laps. That's based off of the last time that Kingsbury pitted, about 10 laps ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, so if it is the case, then and it kind of roughly lines up with the numbers that we thought. Maybe pit stops around lap 165 if your race leaders do go to the distance. Nobody says, though, and you can go 50 laps at a field race, that they have to go this far. You can pit now. Obviously, the pit window is open. And if Holder were to pit, he could pass Malik Ray for the time being. Matt Kingsbury is going to be your race leader. If we go green long enough for this cycle to go through, he's going to make up time now in the fresh tires. He'll lead the race. You never know. Caution could come out right time, and all of a sudden you're back in this. But if I'm Malik Ray, I'm just going to pit out at lap 160, lap 165, stay in that same window. No reason to gamble. You have no reason to change because everybody is chasing you, and that's a beautiful luxury to have.
Absolutely, but in the grand scheme, it's a long shot from Kingsbury, and he hasn't got the short run speed either. Unfortunately, I don't mean to be cruel here, but he hasn't got the short run speed to take it to Ray, Holder, or Nia. Those trucks are just fast, full stop. And Matt Kingsbury's truck has been good, but it's just not at the same level as those guys. I just don't think this track is his game.
Yeah, it probably will not be a battle for P6. So that was Kingsbury's back out of pit road, caught up to the left-hand side of Keith Stewart. And he'll fly right by that number 7 now that he's on fresher tires as compared to that number 7 machine. While his lap tires, well, only 7.5 laps old at this point. So just a little bit fresher Matt Kingsbury tires by about 4 laps at this point. So 4 laps tires can make about that much of a difference, but Kingsbury really wants to get that lead, and he really wants to get that championship as well.
Really wants it, and he is now less than 50 laps away from a 2018 championship. If it is going to be Ray, Holder, or Kingsbury, remains to be determined. Certainly Malik Ray, though, in the hot seat, 7.4 seconds ahead of Brandon Holder. By far the longest advantage he has had all night, and again, you never know what may happen, but if this was a normal length race, Malik Ray would be headed to victory lane right about now, and if something were to happen in these final 50, you look back on those extra the extra distance to make it the 300-mile event for tonight's Lowline Racing 300. This is where you start to sweat, you start to maybe second guess and overthink the little things as you head into a little bit of uncharted territories. Paul Bliss at the 85 in and out of pit road, so your race leaders now starting to hit the boxes.
Yeah, they certainly are, and this is that time where things really change here, so this will be the critical component for the leaders, trying to get this thing to go right for them, but they've got quite a way to go yet. I mean, this is within a decent pit run to the end, so this will be the last stop, really. And if this thing stays green to the end, this will be the last time we would see them touch pit road. Although, admittedly, if we do get a caution, guarantee everybody will be down pit road for service. It is definitely time to come and do something like that. But Brad Neer, Brandon Holder, Malik Ray, all looking so fast as Holder is onto pit road now for his service. He's jumped first. Will Ray and Neer react?
Well, it did happen the last time around, so Brent Holder first to head to pit road, and I'm going to watch him as he has to his pit stall into his pit box. Locks up the tires. Oh, that's going to cost him ever so slightly. Malik Ray is on the pit access road into the pit entry, so that little thing from Brendan Holder will really... Oh, he had to back up and repark, didn't he? Oh, man, that's really going to cost him, so... That could essentially be it, unless Malik Ray also messes up in this case. So Brad Neer, he's going to stay out as compared to last time around. So now it's just up to Malik Ray to get smooth in, smooth out in terms of his pit stop, and yep, he's fine. So Brendan Holder not going to be too happy about that one.
And can't really figure out what the problem was for Brandon Holder. I mean, he was clean into the box. He didn't overshoot it, but obviously there was some sort of an issue because he had to back way out, go back into the stall, and it cost him about 2 seconds. And listen, that 2 seconds, Malik Ray's going to take it, no doubt, as the 20 machine exits the pit lane now at lap 160. He'll take 40 laps to go the next time by. He'll take the 2 seconds. This race is going to end with a double-digit second advantage in favor of Malik Ray. As it goes, there's a lot of smoke in the back straightaway. It is Paul Bliss in the 85, smoking the engine after he drove and hit the wall in turn 2 all on his own. There is no caution, but I mean, that's got to get your heart rate going. If you're Malik Ray, you see smoke in front. Paul Bliss is going to be able to get down to the pit lane, so it will be a non-factor. But the point I was going to make is that I think that incident there is a lot of trying to make up time where it's not going to make that much of a difference. Listen, Brandon Holder is not going to erase a 7-second deficit from being a little bit better into the pit stall. So I think it's a little bit of frustration trying to be too good, and you hurt yourself. There's a mistake. We were waiting for somebody to do it. It's not going to be a race to find a mistake, but it is one nonetheless.
Certainly is, and Holder is down back in 5th place. That's a real killer for him, of course, as the 9 of Neer heads to pit road, of course. Malik Ray has been in for his stop. He's down to 2nd place at the moment, and he will be flying on these tyres. We'll have to see where Brad Neer comes out. He needs a clean pit stop to maintain his position on the track, and it's looking positive for him if he can. A good, clean pit stop is what he's looking for right now. Before tyres and fuel, probably just to settle the weight and the balance of the car, to be honest, because even now, taking a bit of fuel doesn't really change your lap times, but going light will not help you. He had to back up a tiny little bit, but it was nowhere near as much as, of course, Holder did, so this will be integral. How much time did he lose here? That's what we want to see. 4 tyres going for the next 2. Holder's on the front stretch, so I think he's going to pass him.
See how it plays out. Pit road exit is... Looks like it is all going to work out after that minor little setback on pit road for the 9. Holder does clear quite easily as everybody cycles back out and onto the racetrack. The one thing I am surprised about is despite the fact how early Kingsbury pitted, Malik Ray still well and in front of that number 21 truck. So certainly not good. It's all kind of falling apart late for Matt Kingsbury in this race. So now you set your sights on the flagman every single time by. You hope those yellow lights don't turn on. Malik Ray has cycled back to the race lead, and he is going to go for it for the home stretch this time by. In this race, 35 to go.
Absolutely, and 35 laps will change a lot of things, and Kingsbury running in second place at the moment behind Ray, although Ray is coming out to Kingsbury's heading just past. Whoa, caution will fly! We've had a truck sideways on the start-finish line. Is there 70 of Lemons, who had an incident there. We're going to replay for you what happened to him, but Lemons, wow, big off turn 4 for him, just lost the back end of the truck, and he goes down to the inside, catches some grass with the back end, goes full sideways, and ends up on the track in front of this. Changes everything.
Well, what was that, Evan? I think that was Evan. I'm not sure at this point, but yeah, somebody did mention that one of you two mentioned that you wouldn't be surprised if everybody went down the pit road. So this is going to be a key thing to look out for because, well, Malik Ray has 6.5 laps of used tires. Brandon Holder 7 laps. So this is going to be quite interesting. Brad Neer has almost 3 laps of his used tires. And yeah, here comes Malik Ray at the very least, so looks like everybody's stuff is going to be coming in.
And Malik Ray is going to come in for the race lead. He's got a huge gap because cars are just catching up to the pace truck, so he's going to be able to get into the pit road. Of course, he can't beat the pace car to pit road, but you know, Kingsbury's not on his bumper yet. I think everybody pits because if this thing goes green for what could be a 30 or so lap run to the end, you're going to want those tires. So I think you pit. There's only 6 trucks at a lead lap. Ray, Kingsbury, Stewart, Holder, Keith Neer. Everybody else going to try to get some sort of a wave by. So all your race leaders are going to come in, and this may be the saving grace that Matt Kingsbury needed, because if he can get in and out cleanly, he'll be second in this one. The call probably going to be for 4 tires for everybody. Right sides up, but Kingsbury, not surprising that he goes for the left sides also. He needs every little bit that he can get. I don't think anybody's faster than Malik Ray, where you could make 2 tires work. Race off for the pit lane is going to be in favor of the 20. So Ray hangs on. It'll be Matt Kingsbury in second and Brandon Holder in 5th spot. Your championship drivers, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
What is throwing me here is that Brad Neer has been on pit road an awfully long time here. An awfully long time. That's really taken a very, very long one for him. I don't know what happened, but it's going to reset him out, of course, in his field. A bunch of these drivers find themselves waving around, or they're coming in now on the 1 lap down line as they'll circle back. Most of the 1 lap down drivers actually decided to come onto pit road and get service rather than stay out, so they're working for their own positions here, of course. But Malik Ray, Matt Kingsbury, we talked about this earlier. Kingsbury, of course, maybe lucky a caution comes out, he gets that 2nd place. You're right, he did. He got to stay out that little bit longer, and it put him in a great spot, so he still has a chance here. We'll have to see how his truck is on a short run, and this will be a short, aggressive run, Evan. This will not be a case of we pace for a long time. This is going to be under 30 laps. These guys are going to go all out here. This is going to be war. If we see another caution, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, this is going to come down to back to the point that we were talking about, Gary. The leaving space and the side by side and being smart. No, you got to go. You got to win the race. We don't care that it's a 200 lapper. This is going to be a 30 lap or so dash to the end. That's the only factor. And I said at some point, it always happens this way. And again, feel so bad for James Story that he's not able to get a fair shot at this thing. But everyone that's left, your championship drivers, somehow always end up 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And it's the exact scenario we've got.
Yeah, this is oddly familiar already, but as far as Brad Neer goes, not sure. He did overshoot his pit box a little bit, but that was pretty much it. He didn't really speed into pit road. But as far as the top 3 championship contenders being in the top 3, as far as that goes, yeah, this is just an oddly familiar scenario. I wonder where I've seen this before. But this is going to be a very, very interesting final 30 or so laps.
Certainly will be. 8 trucks, it looks like it'll be the number on the lead lap. Doc Stout and Brad Patterson were scored as back of the lead lap, although looks like Brad Patterson in the 42 now with some sort of maybe a speeding penalty or something on the pit lane, letting trucks go by him, so maybe just a little bit out of order. He is going to remain a lap down, and the lights are out on top of the iRacing.com pace car. I still think as we come to a restart that is going to be 31 laps to go, that I would have put that in the bank of long run. If we get all 31 laps uninterrupted, it is going to be an awfully tall task to be better than Malik Ray come lap number 200. But it could come down to a 5-lap run here at a restart. Who's got the advantage on the short run? Brandon Holder has passed the 20 machine the last 2 green flag runs in a row within 10 laps of the restart. So watch the 5. He's on the inside of, looks like row 2 right there in 3rd position. Malik Ray once again choosing the outside on the front row. Kingsbury's who is inside. The 20 has been going early every single time. This could be the final restart of 2018. Field in the hands of Malik Ray. It's another early go. The 21 can't keep with him. Ray back to green with 21 laps, or 31 laps should say, left to go. It's the 21 truck chasing from P2.
And a big restart there by Malik Ray, off into the sunset already there. As the 7 Keith Stewart just drops back there. Brad Neal will take that position. It's going to be the 5 and the 7. So the 5 and the 21 racing for 2nd and 3rd at the moment. And Holder pushing hard already, going to make that move to the inside of Kingsbury. Kingsbury straight just not that fast on the short run or the long run, to be honest. And right now it looks like the 9 of Neal will also be coming at him as well, as Kingsbury gets a little wiggle there, coming off 4. That bump coming off the corner definitely plays a big factor there. Look at his knee, just reeling him right in now, right in, as he gets into position here to try and take advantage. And Kingsbury's like he's tied to a post. I'm not sure what's wrong with his truck, but on this short run, Malik Ray's going to make such a huge gap now. He's not going to save tyres. Look at him, he's off. He's gone. This guy isn't saving tyres anymore. Before he was fast and he was saving. This dude's off like a rocket right now. Are we at Homestead, Miami? Are we at Cape Canaveral? I'm not sure what we're watching.
Well, I can say one thing: if this race does stay green, as the inside is being under fire to that number 21 machine, Brad Neal moves to the inside for that 3rd place position. Who needs tires at this point? Because well, the 21 definitely. Well, I'm pretty sure he does, but unfortunately, he's just not doing too well on that restart. Like you mentioned, that bump did play a very big factor. So he was doing great, but then that bump just happened. So now he's going to be in the 4th place position, and here's Brad Neal back up to the top 3. So he could also play this race and do effect as well, provided he can again save his tires like he's been doing all this race and just slowly reel his way back up to the top 2.
Piece by piece, trying to get a spot here or there, but certainly looks like that if this is all that Matt Kingsbury's got, it is hardly going to be enough to challenge, and maybe a lost opportunity here. The 21 to fall into 4th. Brad Neal's past him. Keith Stewart, Brent Keith lined up. I don't know if Matt Kingsbury is going to get back into this race at all. And for Brandon Holder, I think the disadvantage of not only restarting 3rd, but 3rd behind Kingsbury, who didn't have a good start, that basically put him the entirety of this 7/10 of a second advantage off right from the get-go. Last time by Brandon Holder's lap time within 100th of a second of that of your race leader. It doesn't matter when you're nearly a second off, though. You've got to be significantly quicker, and Holder has at times been very close, even arguably a little bit better than Malik Ray on the very short run, but at no point tonight has he been significantly better, and that is what he needs. He gains 2/100ths of a second, but still way off as we take 25 to go next time through.
But is it 2/100ths too late? That is exactly what we're seeing with Holder. He's just got the speed, but he's misused it. He's starting to maybe hold that gap down to Malik Ray, and that's integral that he hold it now, at least with 25 to go. Brad Neal, though, he's about equidistant between those two right now. He's just behind them. In fact, he's just in front of Kingsbury and Stewart, and that gap is actually drawing up now for him as well, as he's now looking more like 1.3 seconds back. So maybe that train can catch up. I don't know, but Ray and Holder have got titles in their eyes, and neither can see anything else.
Yeah, it's just going to be a time of just saving time. That's pretty much what it is. But then again, it's the final 30-something laps, essentially 20-something laps, I should say, 24 at the line. So saving tires is well out of the question at this point. And look at the gap; it's stalled itself out at 0.7 seconds now, 0.683 seconds, and slowly moving its way down. So Brent Holder finally finding the speed, but like Rich mentioned, could it be a bit too late? That's the question. As laps wind down, so does the gap. It's just that which one is going to hit 0 first, the laps or the gap itself?
We'll see what the counter is going to be. Holder continues to chip away little bit by little bit, but very shortly here, I expect those intervals to go back in favor of the 20 truck. A lot of battles at a racetrack as well. Only 7 trucks in the lead lap. They're all fighting with each other. There's only 2 trucks fighting against each other a lap down, and only 3 against each other 3 laps down. So it's not like the 15 or so trucks still running are all fighting against one another, which means that, of course, you get separation, and you never know what could happen as a battle for third. Kingsbury thought about going to the inside of Brad Neer, cannot do it. If there's gonna be trouble, it's gonna come from this group. Everybody else way spread out. Could Matt Kingsbury get a little bit too hungry for third?
I think he could right now, and that's going to be the interesting point. This is where Kingsbury might get a little bit aggressive and try and make a move here, because it seems like Neer, his truck gets better later in that run, of course. Right now he's had the initial burst, now he's into that mode of just holding his position, and Kingsbury desperate here, trying everything he's got. Stewart looking at Kingsbury, so Kingsbury has to go somewhere, and not only somewhere is forwards, and he might make a risky move.
Yeah, but making a risky move is good. It just depends on how risky that is. I mean, he's still just pretty much stuck on that back bumper, that number 9. He wants to get to that third place position. He wants to be in the battle for the championship and essentially for the lead as well, but it's just that he doesn't have the momentum. It could be too late. I mean, we're close to 20 laps to go at this time around, but Matt Kingsbury, he's doing all that he can to advance position just in case anything were to happen between the front 2 runners. To the inside he goes to Brad Neer, and he's got it for the time being. Neer slides up the racetrack just a little bit, watching that truck itself for any type of a bobble. Side by side across the line. At the line it was Kingsbury. Actually, no, at the line it was still Brad Neer. So very close margin, 0.04 of a second. And well, the gap between Malik Ray and Brandon Holder has completely increased, and Matt Kingsbury still trying to get to third.
Still trying to get up and into the third spot. It is significantly slowing down to both of these trucks, as they're going to be about 3.5 seconds off of the leader. But Kingsbury goes low, slides high, takes the line away. He'll get third, and Brad Neer, instead of going back to the inside, going to give him a push all the way down the straightaway. This fight may not be over with. Neer, I still think's got something in the tank, and don't forget about the 7 of Keith Stewart, who is running a significantly higher line. Not the run that I don't think the 7 wanted that time of the 2, but Keith Stewart could still make a splash late in this race. Brent Keith behind in P6 also creeps up in battle. Doc's down a little bit further back, running in the number 7 position, but it is kind of flipped over from that opening 10-lap part of the run where Malik Ray looks human to literally any other scenario. The 20 machine is incredibly fast, and he has doubled his advantage on the second place truck in the last 5 laps.
Absolutely, and you know what? I think I've spotted something. There's a little bit of damage on the front right corner of the 9 of Brad Neer. I haven't seen him make any contact on the racetrack, so this must have been something on pit road. A slight contact with somebody else has got a little crinkle in that front corner, and I think he just killed the speed advantage he had, because Kingsbury now pushing ahead of him, and he doesn't look that secure, and his speed does look different to every other run we've seen from him. So I think that might have been why he may be flustered on pit road when he made that little overshoot onto his box. I think he had a little tiny bit of contact with somebody, and that's just upset his mentality. And then obviously the post result of that is he has got a little less speed on a track where aero is huge.
Yeah, aero is a very large part of this track, and especially since everybody's so spread out at this point, almost a 2-second gap as well between Malik Ray and Brandon Holder. Well, that aero is pretty much non-existent between both of those 2 drivers, but anybody else, well, that's definitely a thing, and that's mainly for was essentially almost a blanket between 3rd to 36th place. They're not too close to each other, but not too far from each other as well. They're just barely in distance of what could be a useful slipstream portion of the track, at least on the front and back straightaways, and maybe a little bit in the turns as well, just in case, but I just have to be very careful. So for that number 9 and Brad Neer, it is unfortunate, but it's great to see him that he's still holding on within that top 5 position that he has right now in 4th.
Yeah, 4th position is good for Brad Neer, I should say. Of course, he's been somebody in the LSR TV truck that, well, it's easy to spot with the nice LSR logos on it, obviously, but been racing in the playoffs up until last round, eliminated in the round of 8 after the race at Phoenix a week ago. He needed a walk-off win if he had any hopes of advancing, and was unfortunately not able to get that. Again, all these drivers not necessarily looking for momentum, but look at the end on a high note. You don't want to, I mean, sometimes you could argue that, you know, the people who finish decently at Homestead that were already eliminated in the playoffs going to feel better about themselves than, you know, the 3 drivers who made it to the championship 4 but didn't win. Winning races, running good, always makes things feel better. And we are going to see for some drivers, maybe the highest of highs, the other the lowest of lows. 13 laps to go this time by in the 2018 season. It is still Malik Ray leading this race, the LOWLINE Racing 300. And I'm not going to say the Y word because I did it last time and we got one, but maybe that was the only curveball to come his way. Clear racetrack in front of him.
Absolutely, and I think he's just broken that hold, and Holder perhaps just didn't have what he thought he had. That gap has just exploded because Holder managed to push early on, caught up somewhat, but he's dropped away, and I think he's realised second place might be all he can achieve at this point in time unless something happens. But Kingsbury ahead of Nia. Nia seems to be coming back now. He's broken away from the trucks behind him of Stewart and Keith, but right now Nia looks like he's going to try and push for third. He's catching Kingsbury, but with less than maybe 11 laps to go at this point, it's going to be a really tight order.
And to Evan's point of that certain thing happening that nobody wants to have happen, I think Malik Ray, for now, of course, he does not want to have that happen, but he'll more than welcome that once we get past that point of no return. So that's definitely something that he wants to get to. And then once he gets to that, I'm pretty sure he's saying, all right, bring it on. Just do whatever you have to do to end this. But he definitely would like to finish under this, finish this race under green, I'm sure.
It would certainly be a lot more fun to be able to come sailing at a turn 4 at 170 some odd miles an hour to win this race. But of course, as you mentioned, that point of return, 4 laps to go or less. If yellow comes out, then this race is over and it will not restart. You do still have to pace the distance to be able to complete tonight's 200 laps. But this race would not see a restart. There is no sort of overtime or green-white checker system on the iRacing service. Updated intervals, 2.6 seconds. Malik Ray to Brandon Holder. From that point on, it is an additional 2.5 more back to Kingsbury. So even spacing as your championship drivers once again return to first, second, and third on track. Funny how it always works out this way. You know, on the real-life side of things, you can understand that obviously the championship 4 teams that run on race are going to bring a lot of extra resources to the racetrack. They should be the fastest. On the sim, I suppose these playoff drivers probably practice a ton more than everybody else, but I mean, there's no reason it always has to be this way, but somehow the best drivers find a way, and they occupy all steps of the podium right now inside of 10 to go.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it absolutely makes a big difference there. And these guys, of course, have showed why they're in those positions. They're exactly where we expect them to be. And the gaps in timing are showing, you know, these guys are really the people next season will be the goals. For a lot of these other guys, will be trying to beat these guys. And I think they can probably bring it to them. And we'll see an explosive season because the talent pool has just been absolutely blooming so far in 2018.
And seeing that talent from this year heading over into next year, next year is going to be, it sounds exciting as well. So I'm definitely going to be looking forward to seeing how next year goes, because my goodness, with all of the possibility of new faces and then the old faces returning as well, essentially veterans, I guess I could use that word to describe some of these people. But nonetheless, though, it's going to be absolutely amazing to see what next year brings. But of course, we do have to get through the final 6.5 or so laps of this year. So that's this season, I should say, either or. But Malik Ray, he still has a little bit of time, but that one thing, this is the one thing where, as a racer, you really stress out about. It's 6 laps to go, and that one thing that you don't want to happen is a little bit of a change on the, I'll just say change in pace, I should say, instead of saying anything specific. So once he gets to 5 laps to go and pretty much on the back straightaway, he should be fine to just relax and just cruise to the end as smooth and as clean as possible.
And I know these drivers are very experienced on the surface, far more than I am. But if I had a 2.9 second gap and I was this time by 5 laps away from a series championship, I would have probably used up all of that time. Just take it way easy and not even remotely put myself at risk of making a mistake. I bet you Malik Ray is not going to lose much time off of the 2.9-second advantage. In fact, he makes up time. There is an issue on a front straightaway, though. It's Brad Neer off and into the grass after he got sideways at a turn 4, trying to chase down Kingsbury. The 9 is going to head right to pit road. No caution, and this race will stay green. The yellow would have ended it, though.
That would have been huge. It would have finished this race off, and he just about holds it down and, well, destroys his truck in the process, holding it down on the racetrack, but he, of course, gets himself out of there. Doesn't want to bring a caution out at this point. There's a sporting move there from Brad Neer after such a phenomenal race from him, and this result he'll get, of course, will not represent how strong his racing has been tonight. He's been a top 3 truck all evening long, so unfortunate, very sad end to his season there, but he was pushing till the last second.
Yeah, and unfortunately, on the bright side, though, so far, essentially off the racing surface, is that the fact that that's kind of a zone where it's pretty much where the caution is not really defined as worthy of being thrown. So it's so far down to the inside. So thankfully, he got the car off the track right away, but definitely not the way he'll want to round out this season.
Next time by, it is going to be 2 laps to go for Malik Ray. A season for him that has been dictated by trips to victory lane. Of course, you remember back at the middle portion of September when the playoffs started at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Malik Ray took home all 3 wins in the round of 16, winning at Las Vegas, Richmond, and Charlotte, and of course, no doubt, winning that round overall. But things got a little bit shaky when he wasn't able to find that little bit extra. No race wins in the following 3 weeks, and he just barely squeaked it out of the round of 12, finishing in 11th, or I guess I should say we look overall, finishing inside of the top 8, but also just barely making a cut by finishing in 7th spot. So it was probably the low point for Malik Ray that we saw in this 2018 campaign. We questioned maybe was the 20 machine falling off a little bit, and as he takes the white flag, he went into Martinsville, took home the race win, knew that he was going to be in this position for the last 3 weeks, arguably probably knew what it was going to take to go to victory lane here. He had a ton of time to practice, and maybe the caution flags made it a lot closer than it should have been. But it is all Malik Ray in Homestead, Miami tonight. Lap traffic not a factor. Final time at a turn 4. Malik Ray is the 2018 eSpeed Contender Series champion, winner tonight at Homestead.
A phenomenal run from him, of course. A fantastic race by the most dominant driver we've seen tonight. Just absolutely amazing and well deserved by Malik Ray. What a championship. Brandon Holder, though, must deserve a mention. That guy has been incredible tonight. The only guy who could really hold the torch to Ray at Homestead Miami Speedway, of course. Kingsbury coming home with that 3rd place position is a huge one for him.
And that Kingsbury as well, he also got 16 positions gained, just 1 position above Doc Stout. So Matt Kingsbury with the most positions gained after starting 19th. He'll finish in 3rd of the 3 of the 4 championship contenders, finishing the top 3, unfortunately, as James Torrey had gotten involved earlier. But my goodness, Malik Ray's dominance, if that wasn't shown, then you didn't believe it from the round of 16. Well, look at him now as he is the 2018 champion.
And he is burning it down on the front straightaway. Malik Ray, best car on 2018. It was going to have to be a special performance by somebody in a timely one, maybe only under this elimination style format could somebody topple Malik Ray, and it was not meant to be. It'll be his name on the hardware, champion through the eSpeed Contender Series Bomb Track Fabrication Playoffs. Your race winner tonight in the LOWLINE Racing 300. We will take one final opportunity to step aside, and when we come back, we'll catch up with your top finishers, your championship 4, and your champ. Malik Ray takes it all home. We'll give him the hardware and chat with him when we come back. You're watching LSR TV on the iRacing Esports Network. he hits him again now. Ray Alfala into the outside wall.
He's gonna pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's gonna get them all done with. What amazing
Race lead to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is gonna touch him. Pit press sideways. What a save.
Look to the outside as Trunkgate goes off. De Jong into second place.
I'm going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
I tried, there's contact though.
slide left to the racetrack. Chris Benner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact.
He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cut back here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Makashube, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
And back live from the virtual Homestead Miami Speedway for LSR TV's post-race coverage of tonight's Lowline Racing 300, the season finale for the eSpeed Contender Series and the Bomb Track Fabrication Playoffs Championship 4. Winner take all. Malik Ray gets the title. We will get his reaction along with the thoughts of everybody else who fought for the trophy here this evening. Before we do so, as always, we recap with a look top to bottom. Here's your LSR TV full race results from the 35th and final race of the season. Malik Ray to win 3.5 seconds. The top right-hand holder with his all said and done. Matt Kingsbury finishes third. Those are your championship drivers. We'll beat trackside with all of them momentarily. Brent Keith comes home in fourth position, and Keith Stewart rounds out your top five. The final truck to finish on the lead lap was your biggest mover tonight, Doc Stout, with a great night. He comes home in sixth spot. It'll be -1 lap for Ryan Lang, seventh, and Gregory Thompson at eighth. Doug Lemons finishes ninth, and Brad Patterson rounds out your top 10.
Finishing 11th, that's going to be Damian Plemisser. Brad Neer finishes 12th. Carry-on Stewart 13th. Paul Bliss finishes 14th behind him. And rounding up the top 15, it's going to be Tim Marlowe. James Hickson finishes 16th. 17th, Bobby Everhart. 18th, Perry Snelson. 19th is Sean Ryan. John Virga finishes 20th. James Torrey, unfortunately, got involved in a first caution incident, so unfortunately he was not able to finish the race, but as he comes home in the 21st position. Timmy Logwood Jr. finishes 22nd in your 22 car field.
Look top to bottom at your LSR TV full race results. Let's head trackside and talk with the champion. Malik Ray gets the race win here from Homestead, Miami, and walks off 2018. Your eSpeed Contender Series champion is trackside with us now. Malik, congratulations on the win. You knew for a while that you were going to be in this one. You took care of the round of 8 nice and quickly, and you made tonight the most of it. You start from pole, and I mean, besides like restarts and green flag pit stops, I mean, it was all the 20 car. Almost unfair given those guys that thought that maybe they had a chance, and I mean 15 laps at a run, you guys were gone. Fantastic run tonight, sir. Congratulations.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. That was a lot of fun.
Tell us about how this all comes together. I know it's a 35-week campaign. We followed you guys through this 10-week playoff. The highs of sweeping the round of 16, maybe the lower end of things, and just barely squeak it out of the round of 12 to be able to come into this knowing that you guys probably deserved this, but this format gives drivers an opportunity to play spoiler, knowing that maybe you protected what was rightfully yours. How's it feel?
It feels really good. I'm pretty happy about where I was able to, place myself in tonight's race. Going throughout the playoffs, I just tried to make sure that I didn't get on anyone's bad side, and then I just ran the race how I should be, because I know that, like, if I get into a race, the only thing, if I just don't wreck, I should be fine, like finish top 5 or so. So I just tried to make sure that I took care of my truck every single race, and it paid off in the end.
Certainly does. The competition that you were up against, steep all season long. Obviously, Matt gave you guys a run for your money many a times over the course of the year. Of course, into these playoffs, Brandon Holder, who finishes runner-up to you this evening, he snagged a couple of race wins. The competition in this series is nothing to fret about, and if drivers are going to be back in 2019, I know that you'll have a tall order trying to go on the defense, but I mean, just tell me about the experience of racing with these guys for 35 weeks this year, getting to learn about them, about how they drive, and obviously to culminate with the bragging rights, the hardware, and all that good stuff.
It was a very long season. I was surprised that I was able to get through all of the weeks up until this point. But as far as like racing everyone, it's nice to be able to race against the same group of guys and be able to learn how everyone races, week in and week out. And then, yeah.
So going forward from this, the off-season is certainly going to be a little bit less boring. The way that it all shakes out as a champion, it's not something that's easy to do, of course. To find any sort of level of success at the iRacing service, it has to feel good. But we've been happy to have you guys with us, of course, featured on the eSports Network for the last few weeks. Blake, I know that you are no stranger to winning races on iRacing, but maybe where would you rank this as far as the accomplishments that you're proud of, and where do you go next?
I'd probably have to rank this second, I think, behind my Pro Series win about another how long that was ago? That was 2 weeks ago, but yeah, I would have to put this second because I'm really proud of myself that I was able to I did this without a team, and I was able to just hang on until this series started back in January or something like that. So it was just nice to know that I could be able to last the whole season and stuff without getting on anyone's bad side.
Well, and I know that you have some celebrating to get to, and of course, champion, I'm sure you got a lot of people to thank, so we'll let you get out of here. It was the longest race that we saw in the playoffs, a grueling 300 miles. A lot of it was under green, and you guys were laser focused throughout. You're the 2018 champion. Malik, who do you want to say thanks to?
I have to thank Keegan for all of his VRS sets that he made throughout the entire year. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be where I am right now as far as the championship. Dead Zone, I just joined them about 2 weeks ago, so I'm happy to be aboard of them. And you guys for broadcasting, and everyone that sponsors this league, I appreciate every one of you guys. It was much appreciated.
We appreciate the time that you've given us. You win a lot of races, so we borrow a lot of it. So we thank you for that, Malik. Of course, we thank everybody at the series for allowing us to be a part of that. But again, by all of us here at LSR TV, congratulations. You're 2018 champion, sir. Enjoy it, and I have no doubt that we'll see much more of you to come in the future. Woo! Champion on 2018, Malik Ray walks it off. Race win at Homestead. He is the champion of the eSpeed Contender Series. Second place finish for Brandon Holder. Oh, so close. Needed a little bit extra. P2 in the race means P2 in the points, and trackside with him is Gary.
Yep, standing here with the driver number 5 of Brandon Holder. Driver the number 5 Brandon Holder, I should say, but well, you managed to survive all 300 miles of this race. Unfortunately, you did come up 3.5 seconds short, but on the bright side, though, you did manage to come through and still finish within the top 2 after starting in 15th, as well as managing to get in front of Malik Ray for a few laps in this race as well. So, my goodness, after 300 miles of this race, what are your thoughts after this entire season as well?
300 miles is a long race.
As far as, go ahead.
We had a good season. Proud of the guys that worked on the sets and done everything. It was a fun season. We'll have to go back to work and try harder next year.
Yeah, just have to be just that little bit extra as well. So definitely, and as always, there is room for some type of improvement for everybody. So although congratulations on making it to the championship 4 in the first place, that in itself is an achievement. So that is there's one thing you can definitely say to have on your resume for the 2018 season. As far as next season goes, we're looking ahead for the next season.
Yeah, we're looking ahead for next season. Going to take a couple months off here and get a breather and kind of relax. Doing the full season this first year, it's a long season, and it'll be nice to have a break. But we'll be ready to go here pretty soon and be ready to get back at it.
We definitely hope to see you again in the championship for next season. But of course, before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank for your second place finish in the race and also the championship standings?
Oh yeah, I got to thank Kevin Steed with Steed Brothers Trucking. He's been a big help this season, and I appreciate it. Timmy and Sean Marshall, Keith and Brad with Intensity Motorsports, and just everybody that helps. All the guys that put up the hosted rooms for practice, and all the guys that run with us.
We definitely thank you for participating in this season as well. So second place in the championship and the points is Brandon Holder.
Brandon Holder comes home with a second place finish tonight. It's second in the points, and to continue with the theme of making math nice and easy, on a third place in the race tonight is Matt Kingsbury. It'll be a third in the championship for the drive of the 21. Matt, I know it maybe not necessarily the words you're looking for, but congratulations at the end of the day. Third place in the points at the end of the year, a great accomplishment. I know that I'm sure you wished it would have ended a little bit differently, but looking back on 35 weeks, you guys were better than most of them, so a lot to hang your head on, I suppose?
Yeah, I think we did a really good job, and it helps us build the program. We do have a good truck program usually, and we just, with this new build, we were struggling mid-season. Even at the end of the season, we were struggling a little bit once they changed again. And I think this race, we were close. We had long run speed. We just didn't have, yet again, that short run speed and middle of the run speed. And we put on a good effort. We put ourselves in the spot to win the race, if they got together or whatever happened. But I feel like we did what we could, just all our way.
Of course, you look back at points in this race where maybe it could have gone a little bit differently. You guys start 19th, make a big charge up to the top 5, then you get involved in an incident, you get hit with that EOL, you go to the back, and it seems like that puts you just behind the 8 ball, trying to short pit a little bit to make some noise. And I mean, maybe that restart at the end, you got a timely caution, restarted towards the front. I just don't think many people could find the speed that Malik had, but I mean, it was a rough night. You had a shot at the end. How do you kind of look back on this evening and diagnose how your championship effort was?
Yeah, I mean, qualifying, we had the pace for pole. I was practicing, and the track just felt tighter once I got out there, and I left it in the wall twice, so that's on me. We never should have been back there in the first place. John gave me a great truck for a race. Qualifying set, we did a good job on the effort on that, and we did our work. And then obviously the qualifying is really probably what hurt us most. I don't know if it would have affected the outcome. I think we still would have been top 3. I don't know if we would have gotten second. I don't think we would have won the race. But overall, it's with Perry. Just, something that happens. We didn't get any damage out of it. I mean, we dodged a lot of bullets and came home with a solid finish, at least. That's really the positive takeaway.
You're going to head into the offseason now and, of course, try to build upon what is a championship forward appearance, which is pretty hard to get better than that. Of course, opportunities to close out races, to be in these clutch situations as the year goes on. If you look back, though, on what you guys have done on a week-to-week basis, where do you feel like you most want to improve going into next year to turn this P3 into a P1?
Well, I think even if in the chase we've had 2 or 3 races we should have won and we didn't, and then throughout the season I could count on 2 hands. We had races we just throw away. We finished second. Auto Club, other races. So I think we got to be more clinical, and that's really biggest thing we've messed up on this season.
Well, we look forward, if you guys make a run for the 2019 title, to be able to watch it through all 35, but a third in the championship is a great end to a long, hard-fought season, man, and I promise we won't make it any longer. So we'll let you get out of here. Before we do, as always, sponsors, shout-outs, and that good stuff. Anybody else you want to say thanks to?
Yeah, just thanks to everyone at ZGR for all the support throughout the year. You know, we're looking forward to this upcoming Road to Pro season. We'll work on that, and hopefully we'll have more guys from our team in this series that we can build onto and go for the championship with a few more trucks.
We look forward to seeing the future for you, Matt. We'll let you get out again. Thanks for your time. Congratulations, 30 points on 2018, and we'll catch you next year. Your third place finisher this evening, and the last driver. It was a tough night for James Torrey. Had a lot of hopes coming into this evening, and he'll still end up fourth in points, so that's all and well, but not the race at Homestead he wanted. At trackside with your 21st place finisher is Gary.
Yeah, staying here with the number 2, who didn't really have a very good performance, unfortunately. Got involved in a very early race incident, but on the bright side, though, you did manage to make it to the championship for in of itself. Just have to, just one of those little racing incidents that happens and you can't really do anything about it, unfortunately. But James Torrey, you did a great job, though, and I congratulate you on at least making it to the championship 4. So any thoughts on tonight's race?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Gary. Yeah, you know, it is nice to make it into the Final 4. I would have liked to have done better in the last race, of course, and run some more laps. But, you know, I was so damaged that I just stayed out of it. I didn't want to get in anybody's way and influence anything. So, you know, 4th's not too bad, I guess, overall. And we'll take it and go on to next year and see what we can do with them next year.
Yeah, next year is going to be something that everyone is sort of looking forward to, and I say sort of because, well, that 2-month or so break is pretty much everything that everyone else is looking ahead for. So definitely going to be a very interesting season for next year. Anything that you're looking ahead for?
I just hope I can pick up where I left off with some good speed and some good finishes and, you know, get an earlier start on the season. I kind of waited till the end of the season to start doing well this year, so I hope it starts earlier for me next year.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be something to really look ahead for. So even though he didn't really finish within the top 3, but he did make it to the championship 4, which is again the achievement in of itself. Anyone that you'd like to thank for your entire season for this year?
Yeah, you know, I'd like to thank Keith for doing everything he does with the league. This is a great place to come run, and all the drivers that show up every week and put their heart and soul into it. It makes for a good place to come race and spend the evening. My teammate Jimbo, who helps out, it's a lot of fun running with those guys, and it's just a good time all around, and we appreciate you guys putting it on TV for us.
And we definitely appreciate these last 10 weeks that are absolutely amazing as well. So congratulations on making it to the championship 4, and we hope we see you we hope we see you at least with the championship for next year.
I hope so. Thank you guys.
A big thanks to all 4 of our championship drivers for joining us. Again, it is Malik Ray with the win and the title. Brandon Holder, second place tonight, gets him second in points. Matt Kingsbury's third tonight gets him third in points. And unfortunately, James Torrey out of this one early. His 21st place finish gets him fourth. Big thanks to the 2-car for not taking off and sticking around, an hour and a half or so after he was out of this race gear to chat with us. With that, though, the season comes to a close. Again, we've been a part of it for these final 10 races. We look forward to maybe what 2019 may bring back here on LSR TV and the iRacing Esports Network. And for as dominant as Malik Ray was tonight, they still made it interesting. A couple of restarts, some late race drama, but I think in the end, the 22 good and the right champion gets the trophy this year.
Yeah, Malik Ray again showed much amazing performance, and that was just absolutely. If the round again, like I said, if the round of 16 wasn't enough, well, I don't know what is, aside from him actually winning the championship and the race itself. So that, again, is just absolutely amazing. Same with the other 3 contenders of the championship or the playoffs, but it's going to be very interesting to see what we have, who we have next year as well, because we could probably be seeing many new faces, and they could be throwing a complete turn into what we've seen from this season.
And of course, with 2019 brings renewed hopes and a clean slate, but for now it's Malik Ray on top of the pile. That brings this 2018 eSpeed Contender Series to a close here from Homestead, Miami. It'll do it for us from South Florida, of course, as we do every week. A big thanks to our team behind the scenes, everybody who's on the air night in and night out to make these possible. And also we'll give an extra shout out to Keith and everybody else at eSpeed for letting us be a part of this, and you for tuning in. But for myself, Evan Pasoko, for Rachel White, for Gary Weaver, and our producer, Hugo Louise, we want to thank you for tuning in and congratulate Malik Ray, your 2018 champion and race winner from Homestead. That's it for us, so until next time, we say good night, and we will see you in 2019.